Reveille.
Look at us now, tip to tip.
Ooh, Jesus.
Shout out to Morning Kombat.
Do you want a margarita? Yes! My God!
To us, doing what we love. But it's time to bang. Oh, friggin' yeah, right? We're back at it. It's Monday, July 7th, 2025. This right here is Morning Kombat, the best damn combat sports show they ever put together with two washed individuals.
Two pathetic pieces of shit.
I'm BC, Brian Campbell, Connecticut's own, and you're looking at DC's finest, Luke Thomas. And today, Luke, we got a weird rundown of things to talk about.
Might be the weirdest one we've ever done.
Yeah. We're going to get to the bottom of whether the government was telling the truth about the Epstein list, and then I have some thoughts on Building 7 we'll get into as well. Luke, 4th of July is behind us. Did you celebrate America?
I took the Tukester. I mean, I figure every kid has to go at least once. If you live in the city, you got to go see the federal fireworks.
Yes.
They were fine for 4 minutes.
Oh, that's it?
They weren't much longer than that. I remember being longer as a kid, but whatever. And
4
then
minute fireworks? What are they, on a budget?
I know they don't start till like 9 p.m., so you have to figure out like what you're going to do all day, and part of that you have to wait, in these areas. So, but we did it. I decided to do it, and she liked it. But then it ended, and we were like, all right, well, that's that.
Okay.
Yeah. Other than that, we had a good time.
That's great.
Oh, I will say this.
Why don't you say it?
Tukey lifted weights with me in her own way, like
in the front yard?
in a very kid-like way. I have her like a 1-pound kettlebell.
Wow.
Lifted weights with me in the front yard yesterday.
Okay. Wow. All we need is to get her on some metal music and maybe
she hates it. I've tried.
And maybe the worst energy drinks that'll kill you.
Speaking of which.
Yes, please break it out. Break it out.
In honor of the news today.
In honor of America.
By the way, they're not affiliated with the show. I purchased this at the bodega down the street.
Did you buy Howler Head with it? Or what?
The flavor, by the way, is Screamin' with no G. Freedom.
Wow.
Screamin' Freedom.
I've always wondered, what does freedom taste like?
Iced attention? I don't know.
Okay.
They should call one iced attention and have
that is Dana White's Form Energy, brought to you by
so let's see.
Anheuser-Busch.
So the last one of these, the grape jizz blast, whatever it was.
Yes.
It was not bad, but just too sweet. Remember that was too sweet. All right, let's try this one. Here we go. This is Screamin' Freedom, which apparently has, oh my God. Smells like Robitussin and Sour Patch Kids. All right, here we go.
It's like GHB and there we go. That's great.
Let me try one more of these.
Yeah.
It's better than the other one.
Okay. It'll kill you just as fast. I just want you to know that.
I now have type 2 diabetes.
Okay. There it is.
So it's all right. It's lemony, limey. I don't know. Is that freedom? I don't know.
That is freedom. It is. Why don't you like the show that you're watching? If you like what we bring to the table here, you can subscribe on YouTube. Shout out to everybody watching on the DraftKings Network. And if all you audio-only listeners, we're tickling your ear hole today. So follow us, our YouTube channels, all of that. We also have a third member of this program. He's a producer, director, bong enthusiast, a pretty good boyfriend. And he comes to us by way of a horned Australian man's ball sack. Here's Luke Nocita of the Main Card Minute.
What up, boys? How we doing?
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I had a nice weekend with the girl, boyfriend of the year, hanging out. Did join Gaff on Saturday for a little PFL Europe.
You guys need a hobby.
Single, right?
No, he's got a girlfriend, man.
We've met her. We've met her, right? Same girl, right?
Yep.
Oh, that's right. Same
Been
one?
together for years. Yep.
Yeah.
She's tolerant. I'll
So
say
wait,
that.
I don't mean to make fun of you guys, but on the 4th of July weekend, where everybody was out doing stuff, you're like, yo, let's do a PFL MENA live stream.
No, so Gaff did PFL MENA on Friday. I was celebrating 4th of July. But on the 5th of July, my girlfriend was working during the day. I said, Gaff, I'll hop on your stream. We'll do some PFL Europe. So we had a good time.
What was the peak viewership for that?
That's a Gaff question because it was on his YouTube. I don't actually know, but
I think you can check Don Davis's LinkedIn for more. There you go. There it is. All right. Thank you, Luke Nocita.
So, someone take away Don Davis's phone for the love of God, please.
We will be looking ahead today to the second half of the year in combat sports, hitting some weird headlines from the octagon on the White House lawn to ICE catching up with old Chavez Jr. What the hell's going on in this world, dude?
This is as you indicated, This might be the strangest rundown we've ever put together,
Yeah,
but
we've
it's
put
real.
together
It is
some
real.
weird ones for sure. We would like you, if you want to wear our spectacular merch. I'm wearing it. Luke Thomas is wearing it as well with that great bomber jacket. Why don't you head over to morningcombat.shop? It's a new era for merchandise for MK, and we also have the new special edition July releases, the fantastic Average Joe Art design of the Technical Thriller BC shirt, Luke's 1, 2, 3 margaritas, and of course the signed or unsigned exclusive Lucha poster, MK style. So check it out at morningcombat.shop. Big fan of Average Joe Art and what he does there. And as you already know, the proceeds now directly go to BCLT and the LIL. So great way to support the show. Great way to walk around wearing your favorite podcast. It's not just a podcast, Luke. It's a lifestyle.
It is?
What we bring here.
Can I tell you, I got 2 messages.
From men who hate women?
No. Well, they might. I mean, I don't know. I doubt it, though. They didn't make that part clear.
Yes.
They definitely wanted us at their house.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now, is this to potentially harvest our organs and or swap partners? Or is this more of just like a live podcast?
I know that the swapping partners part is very important to you. BC's like, in the fine print, it has to say I can bang your significant other. We didn't get that far along in the conversation.
Okay.
But I definitely had a couple people reach out being like, if y'all are serious, blah, 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 blah.
Okay,
So
but we're not like sleeping over, right?
that's exactly what we're doing.
All right.
Hardcore. Hardcore, buddy.
Wow. I'm more into like softcore Cinemax style, if that's where you're going, but we'll see. All right. We might as well get into the actual show today, right?
It's a weird one.
It is a weird one, so get ready for topic number 1. Here we go off the top. Get this, guys. President Donald J. Trump told a crowd of supporters in Iowa on Friday that 1 year from now, July 4th, 2026, the 250th anniversary of this great country, the US of A, what's better to break it in than to put a damn octagon on the lawn of the White House? We are talking about this. It's not clear how far along the planning for the event is or how definite it is that it'll happen. And the UFC spokesperson said more details would be released in due time. But this is very serious and very real, according to a report from NBC News here. I want to play first the video of Trump speaking this into existence, and then we'll get LT's live reaction.
So every one of our national park, battlefields, and historic sites are going to have special events in honor of America 250. And I even think we're going to have a UFC fight. We're going to have, does anybody watch UFC, the great day in the world? We're going to have a UFC fight. We're going to have a UFC fight. Think of this, on the grounds of the White House. We have a lot of land there. We're going to build a little, we're not, Dana's going to do it. Dana's great, one of a kind. We're going to have a UFC fight, championship fight, full fight, like 20, 25,000 people. And we're going to do that as part of 250 also. We're going to have some incredible events, some professional events, some amateur events, but the UFC fight's going to be a big deal too. And to
Luke, like, what world are we living in? This is
Do not
so
know.
bizarre.
Yeah. I'm not sure what to say about this, to be perfectly honest. I mean, there's like a million things to say. And
Like,
then
in one thing, it's the sport that we cover for a living that
Yeah.
pays our family to eat is going extreme mainstream, but it's
Well,
aggressively
sort of.
extreme.
Yeah. You know what? I would actually, before I even say anything, I would actually much rather hear from Long Island Luke on this one.
Wow.
Because, well, hell, here's what I basically get from this. I don't know his political affiliation, which is, I think, actually tells you a lot. Like, I
Beneficial,
don't
yeah.
think it's a forward part of his identity. I think his sensibility is much more in tune with like the common UFC fan. So, Long Island Luke, hearing this, hearing the president say that, and then getting this news, what is your reaction to this?
This does nothing for me. I don't know. It's kind of like when Turkey was like, we're putting on a boxing event in Times Square. Like, okay, cool. That's it'll be nice scenery, but like,
You care about the fights, right?
what is that? That does nothing for me. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not that big into politics in general, so I feel like I'm really. Yeah.
I feel like it really depends on who you ask, to be perfectly honest with you. If you ask MMA fans, I think, I don't know if the majority of them, but many of them would probably say, hey, that's pretty cool, right? I mean, that's certainly a different scenery.
I mean, it's not every day our country turns 250 years old. Like, this is a kind
Right.
of a major milestone moment. and
Sure.
We're bringing that in with the damn octagon.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
like,
well, there's one question, which is what on earth does UFC have to do with
with freedom.
July 4th?
Yes.
It doesn't quite line up in that particular way, but
It lines up in that can right there. I'll tell you that.
screaming freedom.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah,
it is. So that being not the thing that we're focusing on, I think MMA fans would probably say, and again, I cannot speak for them, but I'm just trying to read the tea leaves. They would say that it's certainly a cool backdrop. It's certainly a question or a marker of, to the point you raise, mainstream visibility. But I would actually argue that's not quite right. The UFC didn't get to the White House lawn such that it actually happens. And by the way, the UFC and the Trump administration both had said that the plans are serious, but they did put a little wiggle room in there that it may not happen, or details subject to change, or we'll see. So they're going to give themselves a little bit of out if they actually have to move it, because I do want to talk about the logistics of it.
You can't put 25,000 people inside the fences, right? That's not
You
smart.
could. Yeah,
What about that?
you could.
So I've recently been to the White House for the first time 2 years ago on family vacation.
Okay.
And when you come from the side of the Washington Monument and walk that way,
Right, so that's the
there's
South Lawn you're
South
talking about.
Lawn. There's that extra wide open field. What is that? The ellipsis?
So it's called the Ellipse, yes.
Ellipse, excuse
That
me.
is that's on the other side of East Street facing Constitution
Wouldn't
Avenue.
it be better to possibly put up some fences and put?
So
an
I looked
octagon
this
in there?
up. I actually looked this up. I actually looked it up last night. Has there ever been a sporting event that was basically controlled by the White House that took place either on the South Lawn or the Ellipse?
Outside of like a makeshift Special Olympics like baseball game.
Yeah,
that
I
they've
mean,
had.
President Clinton put a quarter-mile track. Obama had a basketball court put in there. So,
Clinton had like a blowjob booth. It's like a competition, but yeah.
that aside, like
Yeah.
just indulging a president, and Nixon had obviously a bowling alley installed in the White House. But outside of that, in the 19th century, the Washington Senators actually played some games on the Ellipse.
Ooh,
That actually was a real thing. But in terms of the South Lawn, it's like if you live in the area, the White House, no matter who the administration is, they'll put up every year for Easter egg. They'll do an Easter egg hunt. Little kids can sign up, and then they do a lottery, and then you can go. They do that. Obama had like a 2016, almost like a South by Southwest thing there. It had 2,000 people on there. It's an 18-acre property. You couldn't put it on the Lafayette Square side. You have to put it on the South Lawn
Sure.
side. You could do it, but this is one of the other questions I would have, which is, that is a logistical nightmare, because you're going to have to close off key portions of downtown, which you can do, but
Who's paying for this though? Is
Right,
it
right.
the U.S. government, or
I
if
mean,
it's Turkey?
I had several friends lose their jobs in Doge cuts, and I'm expected to believe this is an effective use of taxpayer dollars. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, if I'm just being honest with you.
Would we need Turkey to come in and like who's
If there's a benefactor that's a little bit
who's
different.
more ill-fitted for the Oval Office? Elon Musk high on ketamine or Turkey?
Turkey knows a little bit more about the fight game.
That's true.
I guess I would just say this. I think MMA fans are going to be real jazzed to have this kind of a placement in this celebration, to be on the White House, to have MMA front and center. But the point I want to raise previously, which is the one, it's like, oh, it's like fully mainstream. Yeah, sort of. But not really. The UFC didn't get to this place by staying with their big tent approach. For most of my life, they had a big tent approach. It didn't matter tall, short, white, black, rich, poor, southern, northern, western, eastern. It didn't matter who you are. There was the argument was there was a space for you inside MMA. That is not the claim that they make now. The claim that they make now is they don't say this explicitly, but they have alienated, we've talked about this a million times, a portion of their fan base by going all in on one side decidedly. That's how they got here. And I just think the other thing I would ask folks to consider is, listen, I don't really know what's going to happen between now and next July, whether this will happen. It might just be no big deal. It might be a huge deal. Again, I think for MMA fans, they're just focused on what kind of card are we going to get, right? And then that looks kind of cool. And I understand that. I'm just going to say it again, dude. The UFC going all in on political polarization in the way that they are, I don't know what and I'm saying this genuinely, I do not know what the long-term risks are. Makes me a little nervous for the long-term viability of the sport. It does. Makes me a little nervous that they would go, we're going to go small tent and then hardcore focus on that. I don't know what that does.
I mean, it's like I love MMA, but do I want an octagon on the White House grounds on the country's 250th birthday? And that's independent.
Where you know the fighters are going to win and then go absolutely fillet Trump.
But that's
as
I was
much
going
as
to say
possible.
for me, it's independent of who's in office. To me, it's like everybody's kickback is, oh, if you say anything negative about Trump being cage side and being worshipped at UFC events, then it means you automatically love the other side. I don't want Biden there. I don't want Obama there. I don't want any of those guys there. It's one thing to be in attendance and wave, and the camera goes on you, just like when a president's throwing out the first pitch from the front row of
And then you don't see him
of
again.
a crowd,
Yeah.
and then you don't see him again. I wonder, would this have the same? Like, is the reaction to this rooted specifically in how people react to that side of the political line, or would the reaction be the same if it was Joe Biden?
So
pushing this out?
I didn't have a whole lot of a reaction. My friends who live in DC all texted me. They're like, "You going to go to this?" And I'm like, "I would be denied credentials on 2 levels trying to get into this one." But I actually read around the internet just to see what people said, and of course, the reactions fall on partisan lines
Yes,
too,
yes.
right? So the right wing is pretty happy about it. The left wing considers this quite tacky in the end. The thing that I would just ask folks,
It is tacky as shit, to be fair.
it's a little monster trucky.
Yeah,
A little monster
it's just-
trucky.
that's what I'm saying. It's like, what does that say about America? You know?
But in the end, I think the thing I would ask folks to consider is, beyond some of the things we've already mentioned, is just that what, again, I'm going to ask, what on earth does this have to do with 4th of July? And like, when we're celebrating this, are we actually celebrating the independence from the British, or is this a way for a guy who's got, I'm sorry to bring this up and we can move on from it, but a guy who's got authoritarian tendencies to have praise lavished on him on his literal fucking lawn
Yeah.
by a company that has no problem doing business with authoritarian regimes? Like, it just feels to me like actually pretty much a continuation of that on down the line. I don't know. So in the end, my view is wherever you fall politically will absolutely color how this looks. The last thing I'll say is, like, when this kind of got announced, the least law-abiding UFC fighters that we have were all like, me first.
Let me be the first. So the one me first that got everybody fired up, as they should, was recently retired former 2-division champion and greatest of all time, John Jones, who pulled out of the possibility of a multi-year build toward a Tom Aspinall heavyweight title unification fight to then do this on Twitter, which obviously felt like he was sticking a finger in the sore of all MMA fans. Not only is the I like this in response to an AI image of John on the top of a cage wearing Apollo Creed trunks, celebrating a victory over Tom Aspinall, maybe as a recreation of the Revolutionary War in some ways. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And then he put out that he's re-entered the UFC testing pool with his quote of, "Figured we'd keep everyone's options open," end quote. If you're Dana White after what he just pulled, although for the record, Dana did not dunk on him after he pulled this shit, right? Dana was sort of like,
I thought he
hey,
took it
it's up
pretty
to
well,
him.
yeah.
He took it pretty well. He moved on. If they allow John Jones back into the octagon, am I being a John Jones hater, or am I accurate in saying it's absolute bullshit for him to give up the heavyweight title, create a 2-year soap opera, possibly lie publicly, according to Dana, about the specifics of that,
Mhm.
and then be like, oh, fighting on the White House lawn? Dude, I'm back in. Let's go. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Log off and
Yeah.
fuck off,
Yeah.
right?
Don't need to see you ever again. Goodbye. I'm good. No, I'm not interested in him fighting. Not interested in storylines around him. Didn't even want to put. We actually, Brian and I debated about how much we even wanted to put this in the rundown. It seemed relevant enough that we couldn't ignore it, but less than zero interest in any of this. And partly, I also think partly there's 2 things happening. One was this news about the White House. The second part is that I think he just realizes that his retirement went really, really bad,
Oh, how could it have?
and how and everything that he thought was beautiful got torched.
Oh, you
And-
mean there was no video package talking about his greatness? And all
Yeah,
this
and
stuff?
so and then the fans being like, "Yeah, good riddance." Like there was a lot of that. I think he's trying to claw a little bit of dignity back if he can find some, but
So he still wants super fights with Derek Lewis and Jamal Hill, as he
Yeah.
famously said. last year.
absolutely uninterested in ever seeing him compete in any facet whatsoever.
Well, he's not the only person who were, I can't say largely uninterested, because I've been trying to make fantasy matchups with Conor McGregor
I'm about to
lately,
say, bitch.
just to use that name to put over the next superstar. But Conor McGregor also jumped at the opportunity to return at the White House. Would be a very intriguing offer. It would bring me back in to focus on my return correctly. McGregor would also say, Luke, that after he wins the Irish presidency,
Yeah, right.
the history of going to the U.S. and competing on the White House as the Irish president is what would motivate him. He didn't have that same motivation when he had a broken toe ahead of the Chandler fight. But is this the only way it's going to bring, like, you know, Michael Chandler's like, see you at the top? Did he mean the top of Capitol Hill? Is that what he's talking about? Is this the only way we get McGregor Chandler if it's headlining this White House pay-per-view?
Seems like
Fuck
that.
off.
Seems like that would. That to me, whether you're, there's one question about like how interested are you in McGregor at all? And by the way, by July of next year, he'll either be, I think he'll be just days away from 38.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're talking old, right? Old. Independent of the question about whether or not you want to see him compete at all, it does though. I mean, if they go through with this, you would imagine he would be on the card if he actually made himself available, right?
Let's put any political leanings or tackiness, which is really what I'm focused on. I mean, like, we're already so deep into combat sports and politics being in just a gross marriage across the board that it's hard to avoid. So, but separate from those feelings, let's say this happens. And let's say, as Donald Trump said, we want championship fights. We want, you know, big names on there.
Like a good card.
How do you book this given the setting and the connection to both America on America's 250th birthday and the political side of it? Are you putting only U.S. stars in there? Because Don Davis put out a tweet that he got rightfully ripped for, which was basically, hey, at Donald Trump saying, hey, here's a PFL supercard that could be the setup. We could do PFL in the afternoon, UFC at night. And it was all of his Russian fighters, basically, you know what I mean, linked together on there. Would this be American stars only? Would it be American against British to recreate that 1776 feel? What the hell would we do here?
I don't know. I don't get it. I mean, I can get that Conor would be something of a...
Conor Chandler is the main event?
Yeah, I mean, again, Conor is also another reprehensible figure whose participation in the sport to me is absolutely unnecessary nor desired. But again, I would imagine that a number of the fans would disagree. So you would imagine he would be on there by virtue of sport significance. But I don't know how you matchmake the rest of it, because you got Kayla as a champion, but how many more times is she going to compete?
Sure.
How much time does she have left? Beyond that, I don't know. And it's like, even then, it's like, well, what American contenders do you have? I mean, it'll be hard to say what you have 9 months from now, because that would more closely mirror what you could do with the card.
Do we not have any male American champions at the moment?
We don't have any male, no male American champions.
So Kayla is the only female, right?
Only one period.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's it. So it's a little tough to say who would go on the card.
Yes.
Again, that's what I'm saying.
Well, then maybe if they did a Freedom card with all Freedom Avengers like Chandler and all these
Yeah, I
guys,
mean, I just don't quite get what this has to do with 4th of July. Then people just have parties for 4th of July, and this is the White House lawn. But again, it'd be one thing if this was like at the Capital One Arena, just, you know, a few blocks away, which would be an appropriate venue. This is on government property, and so therefore it takes on a different kind of significance. So it's a very confused thing to do.
All right, is there a way that Dana could use John's interest in this in backdooring him into agreeing to do the Aspinall fight a year from now? John, you got a full year to get all your excuses out of the way.
I don't even care about that
I
fight.
fucking hate this so much.
I don't even fucking care, dude. Fuck that fight. And I'm being dead serious. Fuck that fight. I don't care anymore.
Does Don Davis not realize that when he puts that aggressive, shameless tweet out there, when he gets off of LinkedIn long enough to put that tweet out there, that he's basically telling the world we are number 2. He's done, I guess, saying that we are the co-leaders. He's saying we are number 2 and we will be the JV game before the varsity comes in later.
Yeah.
It's the card itself that Don put together was actually kind of interesting. It's the best that PFL actually has to offer in one night.
It's not a bad card, but again, what the fuck does that have to do with 4th of July? And then why are you trying to be the fluffer for the, you know, the
For the
porn
record,
site?
it was what? Francis versus Vadim Nemkov in the main event. Then it was Usman versus Hughes Part 2, Usman Nurmagomedov in the co-main. Dakota Ditcheva versus Gorilla, Liz Carmouche. And then, you know, further on, their best against their best. Good card, Don. Not bad. Horrible, shameless sort of linking to that. But wow. What?
Hey, Long Island Luke, would you want to see Conor? Okay. So your whole number one thing is, all right, you know, you don't really care about this kind of thing, and maybe it's not your cup of tea, but a good card is a good card. What does a good card to you for this kind of event look like?
Not Conor at the top of it, like a actually good card. I don't know, just like if it's gonna. Are we assuming it's gonna be a pay-per-view or a fight night?
It has to be a pay-per-view, right?
I don't fucking know. I have no. I mean, this is what I'm. 20,
I mean, who gets to go to it? Is it the kind of thing like the Times Square card for Turkey where it's only billionaires and influencers?
The White House property is, again, now this would include parts you couldn't use, but in totality is 18 fucking acres. Like, there is room to...
they'd do a breacher of all people that were arrested in Jan 6, and they'd be pardoned publicly before the main event.
I actually joke when they announced this, I'm like, instead of July 4th, this should have been on January 6th.
You're right.
And by the way, when when Donald Trump made the speech that sent everyone to the Capitol, he was at the Ellipse, just over the White House lawn to do that, by the way. So to me, it actually lines up. The symmetry with Jan 6 is much tighter, actually. But I forgot what I was going to say. Doesn't matter.
It was probably about the front lawn and politics and who's going to be there.
Oh, I was saying the space is big enough to do. The question is not, to me, the question is not, do you have enough space? The question is, how much is that going to cost? And the logistics of getting 20,000 people onto White House property and off without a security incident, that is not, I mean, even if you're the most in favor of this, you have to recognize that is not a small operation. That is a very, it's literally never been done in the history of the country. Marine One fucking lands in that space.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm not saying they can't or shouldn't do it, but more like, that is a tough, it's one thing if you go to T-Mobile or MSG where it's contained.
Yes.
You have all, you know the security protocol and what has to be in place. That's happened, which is why he can go to those and get out, and there's really no issue. The White House lawn, to me, is obviously the security will be present, but it's a very, very... Also, by the way, small note, it rains in July in D.C. So, like, it's an outdoor
you have
event.
To put a stage over... You have to put
but Dana White hates doing that.
Of course, but you know what's going to change that is when Crawford Canelo lives up to expectations from a production standpoint in Allegiant Stadium on Netflix.
And it changes his perspective.
Dana's going to wake up and go, oh, shit, we can be... TKO's going to get in his ear and be
like... It's a
like...
fair point, actually. Yeah, you might be right about that.
Let's put Conor in a soccer stadium or some
shit. The whole
like
thing
that.
is weird. I don't know how you book it. I'm sure they can do it, but it's weird.
Are you down with the stipulation that to truly celebrate America, all the fights are U.S. citizens against non-U.S. citizens and all losers get deported?
I don't think the Hunger Games should be how we do official government policy, but... God only knows what they'll do.
What a topic. What a way to lead off the show.
By the way, I'm happy to not bring this shit up. This was the biggest news in the fucking sport. Like, what, you know what I mean?
I'm waiting for the tweet, the text from my parents that are going to, inevitably, that's going to say, hey, you covering the fight at the White House? Like,
would you go?
No.
No?
That's not my thing. That's in your backyard. You should go to that.
I don't believe in laundering fascism personally, so I'll skip that one.
All right. Well, let me tell you about what's a good time if you put the camera on me. You know when is a good time? Right now. You know what for? How about to remember where tequila's story actually began? You know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about 1795, when Cuervo invented tequila. Since then, Cuervo has stayed true to its roots. We're talking same family, same land, and you know that same passion, right? 230 years later, Cuervo's still right here in every pour, in every margarita, in every celebration. So enjoy the tequila that started it all. Cuervo, the tequila that invented tequila. ProximoCuervo.com. Please drink responsibly. And Luke, you already know that UFC 318 is a week and a half away. It's coming, and it's coming like a hurry. It's hurrying. It's in New Orleans. It's Dustin Poirier's retirement fight in a trilogy against Max Holloway. And UFC 318 is the last time we'll see Poirier step foot into that octagon. So the easiest way for you, the MK viewer, to get in on the action and win some real cash, how about you download that Pick 6 app from DraftKings right now? DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the UFC. It's crazy simple, folks. Just pick more or less on the stats of two of your favorite fighters we're talking about. Combined strikes, takedowns, all the stat categories that you know. Pick 6 brings major upside with payouts beyond the minimum if you beat the competition. Luke, our viewers have a chance to do that.
They certainly do. Here's what you're going to do right now. You're going to download that DraftKings Pick 6 app. As I mentioned, do it right now. No, not now. Right now. And use the code COMBAT. That's COMBAT with a K. For all new customers to get a special offer, ride the upside where a few bucks can turn into a bag only on DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours. Got a gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 8887897777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick Six not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. For additional terms and for additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Thank you very much. If we're going more or less on total strikes from Max Holloway, I'm going more. All right.
I would definitely take the over on that one.
Yeah.
By the way, what is your feeling about that one? That one go the distance?
I don't know. I mean, in theory, yes, it should. They're both warriors. They've fought twice already. Both times they've gone the distance, but you never know in a retirement fight situation. Is Poirier going to go balls to the wall? Is he going to show up old? You're not really sure.
Okay, Long Island Luke. Obviously, the odds are what would dictate how you would bet. But what would you anticipate the betting being like in terms of whether the fight goes long or not?
I did peek at them a few weeks ago, and it was a pick'em.
Ooh.
And I think, like, odds aside, Dustin's already beaten him twice. It's his retirement fight. It's in New Orleans. A lot of things are making me point to Dustin here.
No, but I'm saying, do you think
Going
it
the
goes
distance.
the full distance?
Oh, then yeah, I do. I
Okay.
definitely do.
That's just as easy as that. Also, I want to remind you that 9 days from now, right?
9 days?
Wednesday, July 15th. Am I right on my dates here?
16?
Sorry, 16th. Wednesday, July 16th, 9 days from now in this studio. It's a Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. UFC 318 pregame preview brought to you by Cuervo, LT, BC, Jed Meshew II.
That's right.
Let's go.
We're all
Let's
going to
go.
get lice.
Let's go. Okay. Cuervo for everybody. Hey, let's go to topic number 2. Another weird one. Fresh off of his unanimous decision loss to Jake Paul, in which he really didn't box at all for 4 rounds and didn't start punching until there was only 2 rounds to go, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. was detained by ICE over the weekend and is set for deportation to Mexico, where he is reportedly wanted for activity related to the Sinaloa Cartel. Various reports suggest he might have acted as something of an enforcer for the cartel. While these charges are serious, there's some real questions here, including why was this fight between Paul and Chavez allowed to go forward when the information was known before the fight of Chavez's whereabouts and his situation with the government? Luke, it's been long known that Chavez had a romantic relationship with somebody that was a extended connection to the Sinaloa Cartel
Through
to El Chapo.
yeah.
And there's some reports, as I mentioned, that he was used as a muscle man, a body to rough some people up. We've got some Homeland Security comments here, and then we can react to this. This is a wild-ass story.
I can't believe this story.
What does it say there off the top?
Do you take off the DHS Gov watermark?
All right.
Well, all right. ICE arrested Mexican boxer and criminal illegal alien Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. He is now being processed for expedited removal from the United States. This Sinaloa Cartel affiliate, well, they're making some broad declarations about something that hasn't been proven in court, but okay, has an active arrest warrant in Mexico. That might be true for sure. For his involvement in organized crime and trafficking firearms, ammunitions, and explosives. Under President Trump, no one is above the law, including world-famous athletes. Our message to any cartel affiliates in the U.S. is clear. We will find you, and you will face consequences. The days of unchecked cartel violence are over, end quote.
We also have video of Chavez Jr. getting captured from a home that he owns outside of Los Angeles there. Wild stuff. So, Luke, the biggest question here is related to the timing of this. It seems like it was a proven
I don't think
fact.
that's the only question.
Well, okay, but it does seem like it's a proven fact that they were investigating him leading up to the fight. They knew his whereabouts. They knew the situation. They waited for the fight to continue. Is that a call that Jake Paul makes to the White House and says, can we wait until after this, or does he not have any knowledge and this is a surprise to him? Because it's a shocker to see this play out and this gentleman get deported who, I mean, it's tough to say anything good about Chavez Jr. right now or the last 12 years of his career, and he certainly didn't give himself the best chance to win when he fought Jake Paul just a week and a half ago. What the hell is this?
Let me just say this. To me, the ICE component is really not even remotely the most interesting or even relevant or even part I even care to discuss.
Sure.
It's the cartel association for me. Now, again, there have been a number of reports alleging connections, as you indicated, that there would be guys that the cartel would have some issue with, hang them upside down. And they, again, the allegations are that Chavez would box him up like a body bag as they hung upside down.
And his baby mama is somehow related.
Related to El Chapo. So to me, the fact that ICE grabbed him up and put him in detention is, grabs headlines, but these are allegations. And so I want to be very clear. I saw Mexican media over the weekend because I went and tried to find what anybody was saying. His dad and his family put out a statement. His dad did an interview on the street, actually, and then his family put out a statement. They're claiming he's innocent, and this will all be proven. You know, of course, your response might be that, well, of course, you know, yeah, family is going to say that. So I don't know how to respond to these allegations, except to say this, BC. If they are true, like that he acted as some kind of a thug, trafficker, an enforcer of some kind for the cartel, even as like an affiliate, he's not really in it, but, you know, next to it, would that really surprise you?
No.
It wouldn't surprise me either.
No.
I think that's the takeaway for me. Is like, I don't know if they're true. And if he is innocent, I do hope that
I'm not remotely surprised that he's connected to this. The question is, why would they let the fight go forward?
I have no way of answering that.
I mean, there's similar. I guess the thing that it reminds me of is in 2012 when Floyd Mayweather was sent to go to jail for
that's so much smaller.
for domestic
this is an
violence.
International
Right,
arrest warrant.
but the state of law of Nevada, the commission in Las Vegas, they basically decided let's push Floyd's jail sentence to start back a month so that he can fight Cotto first. And the justification was that pay-per-view would bring in so many millions to the city and hotel and gambling and all that we were just like, what? You're going to delay his jail sentence so that everyone can make money off him? Is this similar to that? Did the government make that decision of let's let him go forward with the fight against, America's Jake Paul first? He was going to lose. It's just bizarre to me.
I mean, dude, again, this is one of those things where it's like, I don't know how you have these conversations without some degree of a political.
But he's showing up to the weigh-in. He's showing up to the press conference. They know where the frick he is.
How tight are Jake Paul and Trump? I have a serious question. How tight are they?
Do you remember Inauguration Day when Jake Logan and Conor McGregor were in the van with Mrs. Paul going to the...
So what? He got invited. Big deal. That doesn't mean that much.
Okay, I think that means a lot. Does it not mean a lot? Who else was there? Joe
that
Rogan,
means
Dana White?
That means he's a respected booster. That doesn't necessarily mean that he has a bat phone he can call the admin and tell them about his interests.
Okay.
I don't know. Part of me wonders, like, did they know about it and then they saw Jake was a booster and they're like, wait till the money is made and then do it?
Feels
that
like.
Is one. But I mean, that's just a conspiracy theory. I don't have any.
Sure.
I don't even have the slightest degree of proof to.
No, but it came out in the news that the government was monitoring this.
Yes,
like they knew that.
That's true.
It wasn't
they were
a
monitoring.
surprise to them that he showed up on TV and they're like, oh, we got to go get him now. Like they knew.
That's right. That there is again. It just. But certainly to the point that this whole thing went down, it raised deep amounts of suspicion about what was known and when. And then also with Chavez Jr., dude, this guy, I mean, it was an uninspiring pick when Jake, selected him for any number of reasons. But part of it was, remember, he had gun charges previously related to the, getting out of rehab.
And he had a work visa in the States, I think 2 years ago, but it expired.
Like the guy is a fuck up of epic proportions. So it would not surprise me if after he has his day in court, these charges are proven. Like I would not in any way be surprised. But the whole thing is fucking wacky. The whole thing is weird.
It's another epic stain on the downhill slide of Chavez Jr.
He is the opposite of his dad. He is the absolute opposite in every fucking way.
Well, his dad also post-career got involved in a lot of drugs and a lot of craziness. Not to this level, but
it didn't derail his life like this.
Sure.
I mean, this was like, I'm not going to say it's an international manhunt. That's not right. I mean, they probably knew his whereabouts. But like, this is international. One country telling another one, we've got a warrant for this guy for cartel behavior. Send us him now. That is another level.
What a back-to-back set of topics to open up this show.
I can't believe this.
It's just so
I can't
bizarre.
believe this is real life, but this is where we are.
There we go. I mean, there's not much else to say besides, I guess, I'm not surprised, but also, like, can we get in on this timeline?
Let me ask a question.
Decision making.
Even if he's exonerated, like, so this is a serious question. Let's say that they're going to send him back to Mexico. He's going to have whatever's going to happen to him. But let's say that the family is right and this was somehow, I don't know, a misunderstanding. Even with that, is he ever going to fight in the States again?
I don't see how.
Right?
If he gets deported, I don't see how. Unless
just because you got deported doesn't mean there's no way back.
so
but
he
it
can
certainly makes it
reapply for a
difficult.
work visa in a certain. I just don't know what. Like this was the last carnival fight opportunity to get in shape and make a little bit of money.
Yeah.
He got in shape. He made the little bit of money. He barely fought. So he's a full-time con artist as a fighter.
Yeah, even without this, it might have been
what's
over.
left? Darren Till or is he going to box Anise and Gibb? I mean, like, what's next? Like, where else do you go from here? There's really nowhere else to go unless you're going to do, like, BKFC or offer yourself in an MMA fight. I don't know. Like, that. Yeah.
I'm just saying, even if he's exonerated, I feel like
it's done.
It's done.
It's long.
Yeah.
It's long done. Wow. Let's go to topic number 3.
Hey, can we have a fucking topip that isn't terrible?
Well, we got another one that might be
but
done. Hey, let's talk about One Championship and the unfortunate slide that the promotion continues to go on. You heard when when good old Axe from MMA Draw broke that one championship's run on, in the States at least, on Prime Video seems to be coming to an end. Well, now we have some financial updates about more of an aggressive decline. Reports indicate that one championship has a consolidated loss of $90 million in 2023 and, quote, cumulative deficits now exceeding $530 million against just $24.6 million in net assets at year end, end quote. That comes from journalist Timothy Wheaton, who we, of course, have had on this show in the past.
Shouts to Tim.
To preview some big events down there in one championship and in general kickboxing. Oh, no, we had him for the big, which fight was that?
It was the one fight, the kickboxing fight.
Kickboxing fight under the one banner, yes.
Yeah.
Luke, there's been an exodus recently of executive leaders, of fighters.
Rateng Takara.
We've had canceled events, virtually any other marker of decline that one can point to. What is the story in your eyes of one's decline, and what does it mean for MMA that they are almost certainly going out of business at a time when they're less and less being considered an MMA promotion?
Yeah, the end is near. The end is near. Put the graphic back up if you could, Long Island. Look, I want to go through it here piece by piece. You indicated the accumulative $530 million in total losses since the inception, but there's other parts to the story. We won't go through the whole part of it, but very quickly, the QIA, the Qatar Investment Authority, they are apparently not thrilled with the way in which their investment has gone. The Amazon Prime Video and Turner Sports component, Turner has already exited and appears that Prime
and they kind of canceled their U.S. expansion in line with that.
That's right. And they now, that's not to say they're getting out of MMA, because they may want to get into the UFC business. They're rumored to be part of that conversation.
Wait, what do you mean get into the UFC business?
The Amazon Prime is considered to be a potential destination for UFC pay-per-views.
Gotcha.
For the next TV deal. The esports thing folding, I don't think is a big deal. Also, you can see that, Chatri had public outbursts and feuds with both Japanese fighters and promotions, which I don't think did him a great degree of good, but they had to cancel their August show and rebooked it for a year later.
Will he still do the Apprentice reality
Season 4 or whatever it is, 3, I don't know. But there's been staffing exodus, there's been layoffs, there's been key executives who've left. Thank you for the graphic. I mean, you get the idea. Like, BC, this is the beginning of the end, or some portion of the end. It's not really far away at this point. And the thing that I would take away from this is just a lesson that I draw. Everyone's going to have different ones. Every time, I cannot tell you how many MMA organizational deaths I have lived through. I have lived through countless of them. Bellator being the most recent, but it goes on long, long, long before that. And I do not mind in any way, shape, or form have any issue pointing to Chatri or other decisions that were made in that organization as a reason for their woes, like to a degree self-inflicted. There's simply no question about it. And as you saw on that graphic card, one of those reasons was this feuding that he gets into with sometimes Japanese fighters and promoters, although it's not just limited to them.
And did they just recently move the home office?
They moved it to Thailand,
Okay.
yes, which is obviously going to be a lot cheaper than Singapore. That I don't think is the biggest deal in the world. But the point I wanted to make is, BC, there is no possible way anyone can make the argument to me that Oscar De La Hoya is a better promoter than Chatri. Absolutely no, the fuck he is not. And yet he is still quite profitable in boxing. And part of that reason, of course, is because the way in which that business is structured that allows for more robust competition. People are going to clown one, and there's plenty of reasons to do that. But BC, the UFC getting into this grappling push, to me, was heavily influenced by the work one did first. In fact, Mikey Musumeci left, but Mikey Musumeci got on the MMA fans' radars by virtue of what happened at One. One, doing 4-ounce Muay Thai, has been something of a revelation. It would not surprise me at all if you see American and potentially even UFC promoters getting into 4-ounce, if not Muay Thai, some kind of 4-ounce kickboxing.
The complete combat monopsony takeover.
So my point being is, One actually, with their rule set and some of the changes that they made to how an MMA product can look, I've said this before, they were the one true alternative to the UFC in ways that PFL could never be. They can't manage their business, both because of the nature of the industry as well as their own errors, but they did make some important contributions. It's just, I hope everyone can read the writing on the wall. They're not going to be here too much longer.
You can read Timothy Wheaton's Low Kick MMA story that goes in deeper depth on their financial woes. How much is this tied to what we talked about last week from the standpoint of that UFC grip on the industry and how it essentially is suffocating all potential, in the States at least, it's suffocating all potential.
Well, the bummer here, I mean, I guess here's another thing that one did that I think is kind of interesting. One was able to work in conjunction with a willing commission, in this particular case, Colorado,
Sure.
to have a different rule set. This is what I mean. When people are like, oh, Chatri is a terrible promoter. Again, I'm not going to sit here and be like he's a great promoter, but he is definitely not worse than some very profitable boxing promoters. And you cannot deny one has been an interesting contributor with rule differences, product differences, differentiation, a lot of things that I think other promoters are going to pick up on when they can to bring differences to the space. They were leaders in that way. And if there was a different kind of market to the point you're raising, some of that might have succeeded. But that's just not the world we're in anymore. So guys like this will just, again, he's got plenty of problems. But, you know, I don't know, man. I'm going to miss the one product when it's gone. Like, there's not, who's just like one right now in MMA?
No one?
There isn't one. How much
One
of
of
a
one, Luke.
Well, Luke, how much of a one, I'm not going to say fan, but watcher of their events have you been?
I own Amazon Fire Stick, so when I open it, it'll like at the banner up top show me that one is live. But up until I see that banner that it's live, I have no idea it's even happening.
Is that right?
Time. Yeah. I will watch Friday mornings though. The Muay Thai, those 8 a.m.
deliver
bright and early. Those are
they
good.
do.
Those deliver.
These are three awful topics. To kick
Yeah,
it
we need a
off
palate
here.
cleanser real bad.
Can we show
People are
boobs
honest for
in this
negativity,
show?
which is real. But I'm like, what were the other stories? What were the other
I have
stories?
irrelevant breaking news.
Oh,
if
please,
anyone-
let's hear it.
please.
Matt Cameron leaving Pearl Jam after 27 years as their drummer.
That's a BC. What's your take?
That's pretty big. That's
pretty
big. Yeah.
Why? What happened?
He was in Soundgarden. He was in Pearl Jam. I don't know what happened. I just got an email from Pearl Jam saying that Matt Cameron.
Oh,
is
did the
leaving
band email you? Is that
Oh,
what
I'm
they
on
did?
the fan club. You know. how
Bring
it is.
back Jack Irons, right?
Yeah, dude, let's do it.
Who was the
Dude,
guy?
Him on No Code, right? Wasn't that the one he put those rhythms on? Those
I'm
weird
pretty
ass-
sure. Yeah.
Who was the guy who left the Beatles before they were the Beatles?
Stuart Sutcliffe.
That was his name?
Yeah, he was the bassist and art student. Who, yeah.
What a
or,
fucking...
or you're talking about the original drummer, Pete Best.
Pete Best. That's the
Okay,
one. Pete
okay.
Best. That's the one I always think about.
Yeah, Ringo replaced him.
Yeah,
There
he
we go.
fucked that up real proper, didn't he?
He did, but he got to live the rest of his life being the
The trivia question at the bar?
Yeah, the fifth Beatle. Or the
Snyder saying
original.
they kicked him out.
Who?
Pete.
Oh, Pete Best?
Yeah.
Like they did Jason Newst. No. Who was the guitar? Dave Mustaine.
Yes,
like
from-
Metallica
from-
did Dave
yes,
Mustaine.
yes, they did.
Like,
And then they
we got you
stole
this
his-
bus ticket to the middle of fuckballs, Kansas.
There
Have a
you
nice
go.
day.
Or that time Dying Fetus kicked that child porn guy out of the bed. Oh, no, that was Cannibal Corpse.
He was not child porn. He had a skull in his possessions. He was having mental problems.
Do you think he had glass jars filled with snakes? Like a whole room of just snakes?
Let me say something. If you own snakes, you're a weird motherfucker. Okay.
Do you think we have members of our audience who own multiple snakes?
Bro, the last time I said that, I had about 4 or 5 DMs from snake owners assuring me that they were correct.
Do you think
that-
they can win our MK in your house set contest where you?
Wow.
I was going to say everyone competing to have MK in their house definitely owns snakes.
I tell you what, I could be convinced to go into that house of literally the house of snakes. I could be convinced.
All right.
Hey, can we have a fucking topic that's not?
Let's go to topic number 4.
This one should be better.
We are at the here we go. We're at the midway point of the combat sports calendar in 2025. It's been a wild first 6 months. A lot still to be determined from the standpoint of the business end of things. But as we look, a lot of media outlets, of course, are putting out their half-year awards, Fighter of the Year, Fight of the Year at the midway point. Let's try a little something different by looking ahead. This year is indeed half over. So what do you want to see, Luke, in combat sports for the remainder of 2025? This could be fights, events, rule changes, more breasts on TV, whatever you're into.
Titties.
Put together a list, when we both did, of our top 3 biggest priorities for the rest of the year.
So I thought a lot about this one. I got a wish list.
I got 3 as well because that was the assignment.
All right.
You're like, I got 17 because I'm Luke
Well, I was
Thomas.
thinking, I was like, is there a rule change I'd like to see go through? Is there some kind of, special event? But like Canelo Crawford's going to scratch a few of those itches. So no,
I could have put that on there, just the fallout of Canelo Crawford and what that can do to UFC stadium fights, which is
You seem to be a big believer that could do a lot.
I do.
Yeah?
Those are cultural events, dude.
I agree.
Those are time and place.
I've
you
said
know?
this, dude. Canelo Crawford being on Netflix and the way it's going is exactly what American boxing needs. But it's already on the list, so I can't necessarily
All right,
add
why
it.
don't you give me number 3? What do you got
All
for
right,
me?
for number 3, this is aspirational.
Yes.
Francis Ngannou versus Tom Aspinall.
Let's go.
Francis
Let's
Ngannou
go.
versus Tom Aspinall.
Let's go.
Who the fuck doesn't want to see that?
What? Okay, if that was to happen in the second, or not even just to happen, but to be announced in the second half of 25, what would have to happen for that to become a reality? Would Francis have to end the PFL deal in some form?
Yeah.
That's the only way.
He would, which would not be great. But
And then they'd have to tell Dana, you're sitting this one out.
oh, you mean TKO?
TKO would be like, Dana, you're kind of out on
The
this
issue
one.
with that is Francis can do well on pay-per-view, but not necessarily as the A side. He works well as a very good B side. So I can see why TKO wouldn't necessarily put pressure on Dana, but let's just put that to the side. Co-promotion we know is not going to work, but it's at least conceivable that with 6 months-ish left in the year, you could get Francis back in UFC. Tom Aspinall even said this week, there ain't many guys out there for him to fight. I think he even said the division's not exactly on fire.
Yeah.
He knows. Francis Ngannou versus Tom Aspinall, it would not last very long. But for as long as it lasted, like BC on prom night, he's going to give you all the pumping he's got. I would love to see Francis Ngannou versus Tom Aspinall. That's my number 3.
That is a great one for number 3 right there. I like that. All right, number 3, it's very simple, even though I broke the rule in the opening topic of the show, and I break it regularly. As a collective fan, media member in combat sports, but specifically UFC, less talk and jockeying about John Jones and Conor McGregor, more talk and jockeying about Ilia Topuria and Islam Makhachev. And obviously that plays into the idea of, hey, UFC, promote your stars, build to big fights. I want to be looking at Ilia versus Islam as the UFC's version of Mayweather-Pacquiao. It's probably going to take over a year to build to there due to them being in separate divisions and Islam needing to fight for that welterweight title. But Luke, I fall victim of this all the time. Oh, it's a dead, it's an in-between week. What are we going to talk about? Oh, well, Conor just tweeted this. John just tweeted this. As Rick Pitino once famously said, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish are not coming through that door. Okay, Larry Bird not coming through that door. Their era's over. They've worn out their space in the headlines. Let's build up what we have now. And what we have now, whether you're talking about Ilia and Islam, Jack Della Maddalena, like there's a new breed that's here. DDP is breaking out as a star. Marab, although he's in his mid to late 30s, is on top of his game. Let's build the next stars of the future, and let's build the roads to get to those big super fights. And obviously Ilia versus Islam is a big one in that regard. Can we put the past away, Luke? Because I do wish you would step back from that ledge, my friend.
I wish you would step back from that ledge, my friend. There you go.
Cut ties with all the
Hey,
lies.
Oasis came back this weekend, did they not?
Yeah. Wild weekend. Black Sabbath's last show ever. Oasis makes a big return, and people are emoting like crazy over
it. Was the soundtrack to my teens. I don't mind a little Oasis. I like Oasis. All right, can I go number 2? Well, not in my seat. Not in my seat.
Sir, this is Joseph A. Banks. Sure, over there,
Dude, I have to go back there and then commemorate the shit with another one. That'd be so fucking great.
Did I tell you that story?
What?
We used to vacation when I was a kid in New Hampshire at Lake Winnipesaukee, as a lot of people did, right? Laconia, New Hampshire, that whole area. My dad used to go out there for motorcycle trips every year. He always told us as a kid about this place, this ice cream place called Sawyer's, in which one time he absolutely tore up. Like he said people were coming into the restroom and then going, oh my God, and like walking out. Like he tore up one time like a Joseph A. Banks style, like quadruple flusher. And he told us for years about the Sawyer's Massacre. And he's like, one of these days we're going to go back there and we're going to go on vacation. And I'm going to show you the spot of the Sawyer's Massacre, which is just, growing up white trash. These are things you care about.
I like how he's treating it like a slave rebellion that belongs in the history books.
Yes, like come see this historic location where he almost killed someone.
Oops. All right, sorry about that.
We show up a couple years later, okay, at this Sawyer's ice cream place outside of Lake Winnipesaukee. And I'm like, Dad, where is it? We walk inside. He's like, hold on, I'll show you. It's over here. We go over to where the bathroom door was. The door is still there, but they've painted over it and they moved the bathroom. And I'm like, wow, Dad, you really did shut it down. This is incredible.
Dude,
right?
He forced them to relocate the commode.
He forced them to remodel the entire building.
You know
Or-
what?
or at
You
least
know
that's
what?
the
You know
legend he
what?
tells.
Respect to a proud
Yeah,
patriot.
yeah, please,
Respect.
respect.
By the way, I took a dump here before the show, and I get out and I had to go wash my hands. There's a guy who pissed, who had an open drink like this, like with
Yeah.
a can, and left it on the
Oh.
counter. I'm like, dude,
Particles.
I just farted
Particles.
like
That
straight
is
up
the note-
AIDS into the air, and you're just drinking that in.
You're just straight up form freedom. All right, give me your number 2, please.
Number 2, it's aspirational, BC. It's aspirational. With the minimal time we have left, and I know one of these guys has, well, both these guys are supposed to have fights coming up, but I guess we'll see. But before the end of the year, my aspirational wish list, Gervonta Davis versus Shakur Stevenson.
Let's go.
Right? How could you go wrong with this one? In fact, these two guys I think are the best in class in this general weight vicinity, let's put it. We know Tank is supposed to fight Lamont Roach in August, but that even hasn't been formally announced. I don't know if that's going to happen. Shakur has a fight coming up this weekend
William Zepeda. Yeah.
where Turkey is doing shit posting around it, and it's very
What the
annoying.
hell's going on there?
I don't know. But this is the one that's most interesting because Shakur to me is more skillful than Tank. But Tank is, I think, underrated in his skill and clearly the dominant puncher between the two. How this one would go to me is very, very interesting. And certainly for the American boxing fan and this audience, this would be a real, like Canelo Crawford. I'm not saying it'd be the same level, but like that, a nice shot in the arm to really get it going again. Tank versus Shakur is on my wish list.
Okay, I love that, and it ties perfectly into my number 2, which is the rejuvenation of American boxing. I need a shot in the arm of American boxing, and that can be a few things. It can be a soft landing for the prominent American boxing promoters that right now, as we look at the state of boxing's broadcasting landscape, we don't know where Top Rank's going to go after their ESPN deal concludes at the end of this month. You hear rumors about PBC's future. Luke, obviously, for all of these American promoters, we'd love a soft landing for them and their fighters. And I think just in general, look, Saudi's playing a big role in this. Turkey's playing a big role in boxing. And we can get on certain parts of it that we don't like, but it's doing a lot of good in the same regard. But are fights like Brian Norman Jr. versus Devin Haney better off in Riyadh, or are they better off at the Barclays Center, right? Or are they better off at Phillips Arena and State Farm Arena in Atlanta? Like, my whole point is there are ways we can reinvigorate American boxing again. Maybe Canelo Crawford in Las Vegas will be a big part of that, but I'd like to see the health restored. Turkey's Ring Magazine series has been on American soil almost exclusively, except for that first one with Eubank and Ben. And it's not that the U.S. needs to be the center of the boxing universe at all times, but when you do disregard it, we know about the competition. People are like, why does the U.S. not support their homegrown boxers like they do in the other smaller countries? Because the competition field is too wide for people's attention in pro sports, scripted TV shows, all of that.
Yeah.
There are some things that can be done subtly to rebuild the strength of American boxing. And some of that, Luke, is the reputation of the core key young American boxers. It's been a rough time for the Four Princes, the 5-6 Kings, the Four Horsemen, whatever the hell you want to call them. All of them have had their own kind of setbacks of late to either the reputation or on their record. I'd like to see a return for these guys in a big way to get back to not just their winning ways, but to make big fights and particularly do them on U.S. soil in big arenas in which the fans can show up. I mean, I'm not against the Turkey experiments of Times Square in general. That one turned out to be a failure for the boxing portion of it. But let's get it right in the States. Let's make boxing big again. And if this is Turkey's season to control boxing, then let's put on really big events in the U.S. like he's a big part of with Canelo Crawford. And let's
But
continue.
not in Alcatraz. Like,
Not
just,
in
just
Alcatraz.
do it in a way that's accessible. Yeah.
I mean, I don't even need this tennis stadium, although like it's a unique effort. He's going to give it a try. Let's see what happens. But let's go back to like if Ryan Garcia's fighting, let's do it in the States, in a city where you know people are going to turn up. Let's make American boxing healthy.
Yeah, and I think to do that, to me, it's like, I understand that, like, Times Square and Alcatraz, these sound exotic, but I don't know how well that works, I think what's going to work a lot better is, to your point, Barclays Center,
Madison
MSG,
Square Garden, let's go.
all like places that fans know and love and
Yes.
and are suited for this kind of a thing. You put on great fights and you put them in big venues, I promise you everything is going to go healthy all the way downstream. All right, BC, for my number 1, y'all convinced me. I put my ear, in the words of Good Will Hunting, I put my ear to the grindstone. I listened.
Okay.
I was convinced on this
You
one.
went to therapy?
I went to, I
It's
didn't-
not your fault, Luke. It's
I didn't
definitely
go-
not your fault, all right?
In all seriousness, I would love in 2025 if by January 1, 2026, we can say, you know what was so fucking awesome about this year? How about Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev?
Oh, God.
Come
please,
on.
Please.
Let's go.
It doesn't even have
Let's
to
go.
fall into this calendar year. Show us that you're building the bridge to it.
If they could even, like, in December, in February, whatever, we're going to do Ilia and Islam. I would even take the confirmation of the news in 2025 as like one of my things on my wish list.
When they make Jack Della Maddalena defending against Islam Makhachev, whether that's October Abu Dhabi, NYC in November, we need Ilia Topuria in the front row. Do we need him coming in and facing off, even if that wouldn't be the next fight, just to continue to tell that story and build?
Listen, I know Dana was upset with Patty being in the cage. I wasn't. I thought that, not that he was my first choice for the title shot, but just that they were trying to promote that way. I was 2 thumbs up for me.
Ray. Give him something to talk about.
Give him something to talk about.
Yeah.
Give them a storyline. Dude,
would you have consummated with her at her prime?
Who?
Bonnie Raitt?
No, dude, what?
I was wondering if you would give her something to talk about, okay? You know what I mean?
I'm not.
People are people talking about people, you know?
I'm not typically into banging hags, but,
okay,
you know.
Back to the MMA talk. Go ahead.
That really derailed me. Now I have to collect my brain. Okay. But to the point I'm trying to raise, I don't even need to sell the fight as a fight.
Yes.
But as an event, how big it could be. And
it's a rivalry. Let's go.
It's a rivalry. And it's one where, like, the stakes are obviously huge, but there's deep intrigue about the fight itself, too, and how it would go and what it would look like and just what it could do for MMA. You know, again, you can have your thoughts about the Trump thing at the UFC at the White House. That would be a big event. But I'm talking about, you know, we couldn't figure out what fights would go on there because we're just trying to, like, noodle. This fight would be enormous in scale. BC, Ilia versus Islam in 2025, or let's say first quarter of 2026. How many pay-per-view buys does that sell?
It's hard to say in modern times.
Yeah.
Especially two guys who are just hitting Topuria's just hitting the early peak of his true crossover stardom.
Yeah.
Islam has had that Habib rub and made it his own as pound for pound king for a while. I don't know if that's the right decider on how big this would be in the modern day because, I mean, did you hear what DC said publicly? He doesn't think any fight is going to get above.
But people have been complaining
threshold.
about piracy since the invention of piracy.
So that's not necessarily but my thing is, like, if UFC is going to Netflix in some form in their next deal, which seems likely, that is the kind of fight to kick off that era.
You're so right.
In a damn
you're
dome.
so right.
Yeah,
you're so right.
And it's not OBC, you're always rubbing pro wrestling back on this. Guys, promotion is pro wrestling. Fight promotion is, right? Like, that's what it is.
One of the hardest
There's the pageantry, the sport, the storytelling, the getting people to care about two people's stories that are coming together to consummate it and figure it out, right? We don't know if we're fucking or fighting. No, we're fighting. That's what we're doing. Get people involved in those stories, right? That's how you sell fights.
I didn't get to the sport via pro wrestling. I got to it through martial arts. So it took me a while I was in denial about this for a long time. MMA is real pro wrestling. That's what it is. It's obviously real. It's obviously unscripted. It's obviously a real sport, and you can enjoy it however you want. But the model that it's based off of is pro wrestling. They just made it real. So why not lean into that a little bit, especially when you've got basically number one, number two in the freaking world in this particular instance fighting.
All right, let's go to my number, and that's your list is great. It's all optimistic stuff that we want, we need. I'm still yet stuck trying to fix the issues in the sports with my 3 optimistic hopes, and my number 3 is the separation of church and state in combat sports between boxing and MMA and world governments. It is out of control right now, and it's not just the right-wing evil march of Trump in, whether you love it or you hate it. It's just like, let's get back to the fights. I'm sick of that every week we're talking about the effect on this certain fight. What does that have on the sports washing of this nation? Or how close are we to UFC Moscow with Putin and Kadyrov cage side? Luke, we are at a point where it's never been, I want to say it's never been this colluded, of this much of a marriage, but that's not always true because whether it's the Rumble in the Jungle or the Thrill in Manila, a lot of those fights are going to those exotic nations for political reasons, but it's become a headline story in everything that we do. And maybe some of that is on us to not harp on that and push that aside and focus more on what we're actually here for, which is the fights, the fighters, and the storylines and all that. But I'm really sick of government contracts and, we're going to this scary nation just because they paid us more. And what am I asking for that to end? Maybe some of it is just our focus on it. But using combat sports as a way to further political strategies, whether it's this nation or others, I don't like the taste of that in my cup of tea. Okay, I'd like to get away from that. Is that possible?
I share your hope. I would like to have a show where we could just focus on that and that'd be the only storyline. And to an extent,
But some of that is on us.
for sure. Oh, a lot of it is on us.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
but
no.
like some of it is. It's hard to look past the glare of that sometimes. It's just
The reality also is, but this is the problem. The problem is, like, once you know how the sausage is made, it's hard to unsee it.
yes.
And I get that there's going to be the vast majority of fans are just not going to care about that stuff, and I totally get it, and I understand, and we don't need to bring it up anymore, especially for today's show, which has been a lot of it. But it is a real part of the fight game, and it's to your point you raise. Go back and look at the what was the Ali Foreman documentary, When We Were Kings,
Yes.
right? And you can see how much the government
Absolutely.
at the time of Zimbabwe was playing a role here in
Zaire.
Sorry, I apologize. Yeah, it was because it was in Kinshasa, right? So you could see how much of a role that was all being played. It's not new. It's absolutely not
Same
new.
thing with the thrill in Manila.
But the degree to which the volume has been turned up more recently, that is kind of new. Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of things lately.
Yeah.
I
I just want good fights that people want to pay money to see.
And there are people in our fan base that love us, but they're sick of that bullshit too.
Yeah.
We can make a choice to push back a little bit more and pull into what actually matters. Let's do that.
Push pull.
Push and pull. Okay, push and pull. Those are our three wishes for the rest of the year. Hopefully the combat gods can deliver upon
If I get
those.
any one of those three, I'd be pumped. If I get any one of the three I
go.
listed, I'd be pumped.
I want all three. We are on the road right now, if you didn't already know, to a fantastic fight this Friday night. Yes, Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano, Part 3. And this Friday, July 11th, Netflix and Most Valuable Promotions bring you two of the fiercest female athletes on the planet. One ring, one final chapter. Katie Taylor is chasing ultimate glory following two very close victories over Amanda Serrano. And Serrano, the 9-division champion, is fighting for redemption and revenge. This is more than a fight. It's the first ever women's boxing trilogy on this historic all-female card, and the world will be watching. The stakes higher than ever. The rivalry legendary. Who will win at the end? Do not miss this epic showdown live from Madison Square Garden in New York City, Friday night, as Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano meet for the third and final time at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, live on Netflix. And Luke, we've been building up the road to Taylor Serrano 3, which, damn, dude, this is getting, as the days go by, it's feeling bigger and bigger at what's at stake here. Every time you turn on Netflix, Taylor and Serrano are
you're
right
so right.
in your
It comes
face.
up when you have to pick who's watching.
I
Yeah.
remember a couple weeks ago, I was like, man, I haven't heard a lot about this fight. It's getting closer. Oh, now it's there. It's everywhere you look in that regard. The world remembers them for their second meeting, the co-main event to Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. Now they've got the chance to stand out on their own. You couldn't have picked a better arena. You couldn't have picked a better situation here for these two great females. What do you think ultimately is at stake in this matchup?
Everything.
Like, is it more
Everything.
about the battle of each other, or is it more about what this means to women's boxing?
Dude, this I don't think it's one or the other. So I went to a kids party over the weekend, and there were a bunch of guys there who were from Puerto Rico, and they found out that I covered combat sports, and they were just asking me about MMA, and I was like, "Are any of you guys going to be watching the Amanda Serrano fight this coming weekend?" And they all lit up. They all knew who she was, which I don't know why I
Okay.
found that surprising, but I guess I did. But it does make sense because obviously it was the co-main event of the Jake Paul fight previously, even though there was some
And it was the most watched
Women's-
female sporting event in women's
history. In
America.
history. So I guess I wasn't surprised by that, but it just kind of I guess I was a little surprised by that, but I guess it just to me underscored to answer your question, BC. I don't really think it's one or the other. I think that there's obviously going to be pride from a nationalism standpoint, but that's a sort of a smaller one. The future of women's boxing, I think, could be elevated by this. Women's sports more broadly. And women's sports is having a moment, dude, because people watch the WNBA now in a way, not a punchline kind of way, that just didn't happen 10, 15 years ago. It just wasn't like that. So there's this point there. Plus, to the point you're raising now, the rivalry between them and who gets remembered more. I mean, if Katie Taylor, and because some of the first Katie Taylor one I thought was a little dicey, the second one I thought was real dicey. But if she wins again, what can you possibly say?
Yeah.
She won't be competing much longer. She's on the other side of 35 at this point.
Just turned 39.
Right. I mean, she's beating 40's door down at this point. So she'll walk away with all the glory after having, I think, most of her career being kind of under the radar. Conversely, Amanda Serrano could finally break through here. Dude, it's like this is just a great moment in time where the sport is being elevated,
Yes.
and there's so much individual stakes for the athletes themselves. It's just a rare kind of fight in that way.
And I like that they went all in on the all-female card. You got a shout-out to Jake Paul and Nikisa in Most Valuable Promotions, Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing. They've both been, huge pushers in getting women's boxing more notoriety. But this is the matchup. And maybe I'm upset that they're going to stick with the 10 rounds, 2-minute rounds, but it will produce nothing but big-time action as done through 20 rounds, where ultimately the theme of the first two fights was that Serrano, the bigger puncher, even though she's coming up in weight to meet Taylor, but Taylor using the constant barrage of that volume, standing in there, and those two just trading. Unfortunately, there was some head clashes in the second one, which caused some bad feelings on the ultimate scorecard in the end, with Taylor getting another close victory. But as we talked about before, if Taylor wins, that's 3 victories over a fellow, in my opinion, Mount Rushmore of women's boxing competitor. And Taylor would have avenged the only loss in her career when she came back and beat Chantel Cameron. For an Olympic gold medalist and a hero of Ireland, that's in contention for greatest of all time. And how about Serrano, who's already sort of, in some ways, closed out her legacy by being the most accomplished champion in men's or women's boxing history, titles in 9 weight classes. But imagine if she finally gets that win. It'd be like we say, like Marquez knocking out Manny Pacquiao in their very close rivalry. That one win made up for all the close fights leading up to it. And Marquez was able to walk away and said, I won this rivalry. The winner of this will have that opportunity. So super fired up for this Friday
How many
night.
women's trilogies can you name?
I mean, there's certainly been women's trilogies, but can I name any of them?
Significance?
No, I can't name any of them off the tip of my head.
But I think most fans who are even, I don't know how casual, but certainly I don't know how, this will be the most accessible trilogy to boxing, and I think combat sports fans' memories for quite some time.
Sure. And this Friday's episode of Morning Combat will have our picks not only for this card, but the one Saturday night as Turkey and Ring 3 go to the Tennis Stadium in Queens, New York, with Shiraz versus Berlanga, Zepeda versus Shakur Stevenson. But Friday night, July 11th, this Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, only on Netflix and live from MSG. It is Taylor Serrano 3. Very much looking forward to it. Let's transition to our final topic of this Monday episode, and that is a boxing roundup. There's been a interesting mix of headlines of late that we love to get LT's reaction, and I'll chime in as well. First and foremost, Luke, former heavyweight champion Tyson Fury has done the Tyson Fury bit of late, where one interview he says, I'm retired and never fighting again. The next interview he says, I'll only come back for Anthony Joshua. And then the next interview he says, I already have a date next April. I have a location, Wembley Stadium. And oh, by the way, I'm fighting Alexander Usyk for the 3rd time. This is something that Turki Al-Sheikh himself has tweeted out. So Luke, it's not a surprise that Fury would break yet another retirement. He's an opportunist. He's always chasing the biggest payday and biggest fight possible. How surprising, in your opinion, is it that we've ultimately announced his comeback fight a year in advance and the opponent, when that opponent has a undisputed rematch fight coming up on the 19th against Daniel Dubois? We don't even know if Usyk's going to be the champion after this. This seems kind of weird, doesn't it?
I don't get it at all. Are we even sure that it's real? I mean, I know he said it's real. Do we know it's real?
We have some comments from Turkey that seem to back up that it is real. Now, I do know that Turkey and Tyson Fury did meet, and here is a Ring Magazine tweet that said Tyson Fury is set to come out of retirement and return to boxing in 2026. Turki Al-Sheikh has confirmed, and the quote from Turkey is, I talked with him, and I have his word to have him in Riyadh season in 2026. We have a rabbit to hunt, end quote. He's always partnered with Tyson, it seems like, right? Like there's certain fighters, like, you got Berlanga telling Shiraz, like, you're
I know, but it's like, I get that you work with the guy, but you're also hunting the guy.
Canelo telling Crawford, you're Turkey's boy. But that whole rabbit to hunt thing seems like it is Usyk, and now Fury put out on his socials that it's going to be Usyk. You have Usyk's team kind of half cryptically confirming it. I've never seen something like this where you kind of call your shot. Isn't he going to fight Anthony Joshua eventually for big money?
It's like,
anyway?
here's the thing about Tyson Fury coming back. I don't really need it, but if he'll fight Anthony Joshua, I'd be cool. I'd be pumped to see that, actually. But a third fight with Usyk? I'm not sure I get the point. The second one didn't go any better for him. In fact, it went a little bit worse.
They were close, competitive, great fights. Both were won fairly cleanly and clearly by Usyk.
Yeah, I mean, I want to be clear. Usyk
knocked him down.
Well, more than that. Like, if you just watch the rounds, Usyk clearly figures him out.
Yeah.
Each fight. Why would that change? I guess I just don't really get it. I mean, I don't hate the fight or something, but
what would be an ideal build to that, in my opinion? We're going to get Usyk Dubois 2, and for all, if Dubois wins, they'll probably go into a trilogy in that one.
Yeah.
You do Fury versus Joshua at the end of this year.
That's the one I care about.
And then the winner of that versus the winner of the other for the title. And if that's Fury, if he beats Joshua, which a lot of us think he would, then you get one more chance back at the undisputed crown in that trilogy with Usyk. I wouldn't hate it if you go that way, but to just call your shot with date, stadium, and opponent when we don't even know the situations, it's interesting. What else is interesting is the build to this trilogy versus Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev after two incredibly close and competitive and classic title fights for the undisputed light heavyweight championship. We thought we were getting this trilogy at the end of this year. So did at least one of the two fighters. Then there was some tweets that came out that seemed to change that, in which that there was a tweet registering from the Ring Magazine account and from Mike Coppinger that ultimately said talks of the trilogy have been put off until next year because both fighters would prefer the trilogy to take place in Russia.
Okay, fine.
We all accepted that as interesting, but okay. And if you think about it,
actually, I don't mind that at all.
That's what I'm saying. Two Russian fighters. This
Right.
is such a big deal for their careers and their legacies and their country. I'm all for that. But then you get Artur Beterbiev coming out on IG and almost refuting it, in which he said, I received hundreds of questions about the third fight. That's why I decided to answer here. As you know, the first fight for the absolute champion title took place in October last year. After 5 years of attempts to unify belts, it was still successful. The day after the first fight, we agreed on a rematch, which was to take place within 4 months, despite the fact that it was after the operation and my coach and doctor were categorically against such an early rematch. After the second fight, I immediately showed interest in an early third fight. And at first, there were rumors about the fight in August, but my opponent said in an interview that he wanted to hold it until late autumn, then at the end of the year, and now it is completely unknown when. And here's the key quote. How old do I have to be so that we can fight for the third time? Luke, this does not sound like a man who is looking to push this off until next year and fight him in Russia. This seems like a man who wants to close the book on this rivalry. Yes, he lost the rematch to Bivol, very close, just like the first fight. Is this a case of Turkey and Coppinger getting exposed for propaganda that might not be truthful in this case?
I don't know what to make of this. I guess I don't really understand what's happening here. This is a better question for you to answer. Is that what you think?
It feels like that. It feels like they were almost speaking for Beterbiev, and then Beterbiev was like, hold on, guys, let me speak for myself on this IG post.
Okay.
He's basically criticizing Bivol for avoiding him, not wanting to go right back into a third fight with him.
Isn't there something to that? Because they were going to make the Benavidez fight.
Well,
and it was going to go to first bid, and then
So-
Turkey swooped in.
Exactly. So the report was that Samson Lukowitz, PBC, that they offered a deal for Bivol to fight Beterbiev with the PBC, promoting and producing it, and that the offer was $8 million, of which it felt like he turned down to do the trilogy. Now you have David Benavidez coming out and signing with Turki Al-Sheikh to fight Anthony Yarde later this year. It's on a super card that Turkey's trying to build up for November. Do we have that tweet with the?
We should. Yep.
These are the fights that Turkey is talking about, and guys, this would be a super card.
I mean, that would be insane.
Duran Butenis versus Virgil Ortiz Jr. at 154. David Benavidez, Anthony Yarde, which is agreed to. Devin Haney, Brian Norman Jr. for the welterweight title, agreed to. Then the other ones would be William Zepeda versus Andy Cruz, Christian Mabili, Lester Martinez, Martin Bacoli, Moses Italma. 5 really good fights right there. 4.5, 5 really good fights in a really loaded card. I've seen interviews with Benavidez kind of saying that, like, it looks like PBC could be doing more work with Turkey in the future. I don't know if that's out of a financial need or what have you there, but the critics are basically saying, if you're going to go this route and you're not going to do the trilogy for next year, why not just do Benavidez Bivol this fall instead of the Yarde fight? Would that make more sense in your eyes?
I would rather see that, not because I didn't enjoy the first two Better Bivol fights, but I've seen two Better Bivol fights, and I don't want to lose the opportunity for David Benavidez to get in there, who has sparred both, and apparently, again, these are stories from the gym, has had success.
That he knocked down Bivol on a jab.
Yeah, kind of gave him a little bit of the business. I don't know how much I believe that, but it doesn't matter. I would want to see the fight.
There are boxing fans that believe Bivol Benavidez is the best fight you can make in the sport right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly on the list, but I've seen it twice.
All right, here's the question: Does Benavidez going back to Saudi, meaning that he went out there for a fight he wasn't fighting, but he was like a recruitment trip, and the report that came back was that it didn't go well. He left early. Well, now whether it's a financial need or this is just the direction he wants to go, he's aligning with Turkey for this next fight. Is this a long play from Turkey to get Canelo and Benavidez in there? Which, if you notice at the press conferences or in the videos, Turkey will say that at the end. All we have to do is convince Canelo to fight Benavidez. Do you think this is the beginning of consolidating those four names, Bivol, Beterbiev, Canelo, and Benavidez, and trying to get not just a potential Benavidez versus the winner of that trilogy fight, or before that trilogy even happens, but a long play to get Canelo happy with the Crawford fight, a ton of money, Netflix, and then you slide in Benavidez.
Dude, you need...
I'm trying to find optimism.
Well, I have optimism because I think we'll get good fights. You're just not going to get Canelo to be in any of the good fights. That's
so
what
you don't believe Canelo...
There's no world where he fights David Benavidez. Okay, there's no fucking world.
The reports are he's getting $250 million for the Crawford fight, which, if true,
is mind blowing. Yeah,
Floyd got a guaranteed 100 to fight Manny, and the report was that Floyd ultimately made $300 million after all the receipts and all of that.
Right.
This is up there. This is
right there,
ridiculously up there. I don't know, man. What if Canelo has that opportunity to make like
no.
Okay.
No, it's not. It's dead. It'll never happen. He's not fighting Benavidez. Period.
Okay. Also somewhat related to this.
By the way, do you like the Benavidez Yarde fight? I don't
hate it. It's an action.
I gotta tell you,
it's an action fight.
First of all, the difference in physiques is going to be insane, especially when Benavidez is beating him up. But Anthony Yarde doesn't mind some smoke.
No, and he takes on the big
after
names.
The smoke.
He loses to the big names historically, but he takes them on and he goes for it.
He's not afraid of a challenge.
Yeah.
I respect that about him.
I mean, look, there are a lot of fun fights in Benavidez around the top end of this division here at light heavyweight. So he made the right move if Canelo wasn't going to fight him to say, I'm not going to wait around. I'm going to go up and beats Morrell at 175. Now we're talking about, we thought he might fight Callum Smith. Instead, it's going to be Anthony Yarde. Maybe this builds toward a Bivol showdown, which would be one of the best fights in the sport.
Yep.
So I'm trying to embrace that and what the Turkey element can do for this. There's just still some unknowns on the level of what we're talking about with Ring Magazine account, Turkey, like being a news provider, but it's always under the guise of it's being ordered from their direction.
Listen.
Let me, we're going to the next one. Jake Paul was ranked by the WBA, of course, at cruiserweight. We talked about that last week. We got a ranking. Now this tweet comes out from the Ring Magazine account that says, due to heavy criticism and outrage from other ranked contenders, the WBA will review Jake Paul's cruiserweight ranking at their upcoming European convention in Madrid, which takes place July 15th through 18th. The WBA had rated him number 14 after the Chavez fight, but Chavez wasn't ranked at cruiserweight, and his last notable win had come all the way back in 2012 at middleweight. True fact, Paul has never defeated a ranked boxer unless you call his, quote, fight.
Oh my God.
So this is a continuation of Ring just dropping doogies on Jake publicly. Is this even a real story, or is this just them putting their finger in the wound and spinning it around?
Again, we talked about this last week. You can be upset that Paul got ranked, but he's also taking advantage or, whatever. He's benefiting from a bullshit-ass corrupt system that existed long before he ever got there,
but is
right?
WBA hearing the whispers and saying, well, hold on, maybe
maybe.
We won't.
But I just got to say, the Ring Magazine at this point, like, they're giving up all pretense of, all media has bias, and we know that too. We have bias. Everyone's got biases. Like, that's just reality. But the rule for me is you got to be upfront with them and tell them, hey, these are our biases. I'm a pro this. I'm a anti that. Whatever your thing. But just getting out there and going after Jake Paul and putting his thing in the fight. I hated the fight as much as you guys did, but that's the appropriate thing to call it, just from a technical perspective, dude. That is a PR arm of Turkey. That's what the Ring Magazine is. I'm not saying they don't do some good work. They do some good work. But they are, at heart, that is what he bought, a PR arm to do his information interests. That's playing a big role there. That's just the reality. So
it's going to be, I hate it because I feel like we've been in this weird boxing state where, yes, Turkey's here and he's growing and he's building big fights, but everyone else has sort of been in a couple of years of like, where are they going next? It started with the end of Showtime, in my opinion, at the end of 23, and we're still there in the midst of 25. We still don't know what the rest of this year is going to be for everyone else. Benavidez going from, staying with PBC, but going to Turkey is interesting because he's one of their certain proven, pay-per-view draws. What does this mean for PBC's future? We'll have to wait and see.
Indeed.
Interesting stuff right there. All right. Those are our 5 topics. And now would be a good time to talk about the summer and the need to prepare yourself for the heat. Look, we're all grown men watching this, right? I don't think there's any women watching this. Maybe there's a few. But when it's summertime, you got to take care of yourself. You got to protect yourself from that inevitable sweat, whether you're working in the yard or out with the lady on a nice date. If there's one thing I'm not messing around with this summer, it's my deodorant. How about Mando deodorant plus sweat control? It's built for this season, okay? It's built for this. Blocking odor all day. Controlling sweat too. Powerful on pits, but gentle on the skin. This isn't your typical drugstore stick. This is a high-performance pit shield. You know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about going right now to shopmando.com using our code KOMBAT for 20% off site-wide plus free shipping for new customers only. Luke, you've been around some folks on the subway in the summer who can use a little bit of Mando. I know I have been.
Yeah, it works. Mando works. It's the best thing. The best thing I can tell you is that it works. And listen, whether you're outside grilling because it's the summer, whether you're going for a bike ride with your kids. By the way, Tukey learned how to ride a bike.
Let's go, Tukes.
So we like to go do that. Whatever you need to do, however you need to be prepared, the suite of products, because it's not just one, it's several of them that Mando offers, I guarantee is going to fit your needs. There's nothing that you need protection for related to these kinds of things that Mando can't get right for you, BC. That's a fact that I know for sure.
I mean, I love it. I mean, certainly the Mando deodorant plus sweat control stick is probably the most powerful, but I like to mix it up. Sometimes I like that spray just to have that almost cologne feel. Sometimes I go to that rub that cream deodorant lotion on you when you know it's going to be a rough day and you're going to be out there in the midst getting that sweat on.
By the way, baking soda free, paraben free. So these are not products that are full of terrible chemicals that are going to be with you for a long time.
I know I've gotten some compliments on like, what are you wearing? Is that a new fragrance? No, it's my deodorant. Okay. Mando. That's what I'm talking about.
Also the shirt I bought you.
For sure in that regard. Created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated, clinically proven to block all odor all day and control your odor for up to 72 hours. So the Mando deodorant product options, as we talked about, you got that solid deodorant stick, you got the spray deodorant, you got the cream, you got a few things going on there.
Got wipes.
So let's go. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with the solid stick deodorant, the cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like the mini body wash, the deodorant wipes, and we're talking about free shipping, folks. So as a special offer for our MK listeners, new customers get 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code KOMBAT with a K. Go to shopmando.com right now for 20% off site-wide and free shipping. shopmando.com. Please support our show. Tell them BC and LT sent you. You'll be smelling great for the rest of this summer. Let's go. Let's go.
Mando's got you covered, boys.
That's what I'm talking about right there. All right. We've had our say on our topics of note. We did open up, as we usually do every Sunday night, at Morning Kombat on X and on Instagram. The call out to the fans. Do you have questions? We have answers. This one's called DMs from Donks. Disgusting. Just gross.
You know what? Brought back by popular demand.
People love that.
They said we wanted it back. We brought it back. So there you go.
We do. We give you what you want. Let's hear from our first donk. This one's from Matt Flannels and Jits. By the way, this guy's a jiu-jitsu practitioner.
My fucking eyesight is fading by the day.
Me too. Will the UFC event at the White House actually have good fights, or is it just going to be more about Dana White and Trump being close?
I'll say this. I think they're going to try.
All the pay-per-views are about Dana White and Trump being close. So,
well, that's all. Yeah,
but if you're going to do it at the White House, they got to bring it.
To answer in good faith, I do think they're. If it goes forward, I don't see them half-assing it.
Yes.
There's just no way they'll do that.
Give us the full ass.
Give us the whole ass. No, but I'm being serious. I think again, we want to be caveating this, that this is a year away. Who knows what could happen between now and then? You may not get it at all. But, and however you feel about it, however you feel about it. But to the extent that you get it, we talked about some of the matchmaking difficulties, like how exactly should you do it? but I don't think they're going to put like a Apex-esque level
No.
event there. They're going to go balls out if it goes forward.
Yeah, when
So-
Mark Shapiro said, people watching at home, they don't know if it's the Apex or
Yes.
a big arena. They're
Or
going
is
to know
this
it's
the lawn
damn
of the White House?
Yeah.
Or
they're
is
gonna-
this the Apex?
So
who can tell?
So here's the thing at UFC: no crappy heavyweights, no Tafa brothers. Let's go. Let's bring. I mean,
I think you could do a little tour of Tafa.
we'll take the tour.
By
on
the way,
front.
Junior Tafa
I saw
this
his-
weekend, and he moved to light heavyweight.
Yeah.
so no
You see the
longer-
pictures?
Yeah, he looks good.
Looks like he's in pretty
No
good shape.
flab?
He's got a little
pooch?
ab. Got some
Oh,
abs.
got some abs. Okay.
Yeah,
All
he'll
right,
still,
we got
he'll
abs.
still
We got
bust your
abs.
chops too. Don't
Thank
think
you,
won't.
Flannels and Jits, for your contribution.
Yeah, I think that they'll try. I think that they will make an effort for sure.
All right. Maybe there'll be an American champion on the male side. Maybe it's Sean Brady that'll be the champ.
One never knows.
Well, what they should set up a tattoo booth on the lawn as well.
Okay, well then I would have to go.
All right.
You know what I mean?
Let's see the next question from You Don't Know Tyler.
You're right, I don't.
Damn right, and I don't plan on it. How does the 2019/2020 version of Dustin Poirier do against this version of Ilya? Wish we could have gotten this fight. I think he'd do better than Gaethje will fare.
That's a good
now,
question,
the 19
actually.
to 20 version is pre-Connor, right?
Let's call
Pre-Connor
it
2 and 3?
Yeah, let's call it the guy. I mean, I think the Hooker fight was a little bit after 2020, but
Let me.
but it's basically like the Dan Hooker version, or like the Poirier version
and
who
that's
fought
still
Dan
the
Hooker,
super. So
which
it's
was
after he got tapped by Habib.
he fought Connor the second or third time in 2021 because I remember that because my cat died and I had to fly out to Vegas to go cover that.
Yikes.
Yeah, no, Moko died. Shouts-
All right, here we go.
shouts to Moko.
So in June of 2020, he won the 5-round decision against Dan Hooker in his
that is
first fight since losing the title.
one
to
of the best
Habib.
fights in Apex history for sure.
Then in January of 21, he had the rematch with Connor. And then, of course, July of that year,
That was the
Connor's
third
leg
one, yeah.
injured. So we're talking still about a super elite,
How does
early
that
to
guy
mid
do?
30s. How does that guy, that guy, by the way, an older version of that guy, gave Islam a hard time. We got to remember that too.
True. Although he
So-
and also, did you see Poirier admitted he might have had broken ribs during that fight?
Did you see Poirier also tell young kids that want to be MMA fighters to go to
Go
college?
to college. I've been saying that. People get mad at me when I say it.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I think that would be a very competitive fight for a little while. We know that Poirier can thump.
Would Poirier take him down?
I think that's the
Because
difference.
Oliveira took him down and held him down.
Yeah. I think that's the difference. Oliveira did not take him down or hold him. Oh, you mean?
Put his hand over his mouth.
Sorry.
Was,
You mean Poirier? Yes,
yes,
he took his
I am
back.
talking
Yes.
about that, yes.
I think he would mix it up. I mean, remember, what did he do in the first round against Max? Shot a double,
yes.
right?
Yes.
So, like, there's no reason to believe he wouldn't try something similar against Dustin just to mix it up.
These would be your two favorite fighters ever coming together, right?
Who?
Poirier and Topuria? No.
Not favorite ever, but like on my all-star list for sure.
I mean, Long Island Luke, if you had to guess Luke's two favorite fighters of all time, who would you pick?
that's a good
I was
question.
gonna say Izzy and Ilya.
Oh, that's right. We did
No,
have
but
a
even
Izzy
then, like, if we're
period.
talking all-time, it'd be BJ Penn. And
You were a Volk guy, too, for a while.
I'm like, I like all these guys still. I see their primes coming before
No,
y'all
we all
do.
have favorites. No, it's not about that. We
Yeah.
all have favorites.
Oh, I
I'm
see.
just trying to say, like,
Who are your favorites?
My core favorites all
Dakota
time
Ditcheva.
are Joanna, Brian Ortega,
Rose,
Rose Namajunas. Those are probably my three.
Those are your
favorite
three,
fighters.
really?
You can't change
What about
that.
you?
Cheyenne Bliss.
Whitaker, and Volk.
Whitaker's a great pick.
Really? Just the
Whitaker's a great
Aussies?
pick.
What, just because they're Aussies doesn't mean I can't like them. Those are my guys.
I mean, they're great guys.
I'll throw Weidman up there. I'll throw Aljo up there. I'll throw Marab
Put
up there. Let's
Favola
go.
up there, Huntington, New York.
Yeah.
All right?
Let's go. Anyone from Serra-Longo. Let's
All right, very good.
There it is. Let's see our next question from an eager beaver. At Eric Bolden, do you think the magic of Hamzat has been somewhat lost from when he was fighting every other week? Now, he's talking about 2020, where Hamzat, by the way, what's that guy's name that we loved that had a big run in the pandemic? Billy
Kevin
Q.
Holland?
Billy Q.
Billy.
Billy Q
Oh,
was
yeah.
a major star of the pandemic. You had 3 victories in what felt like 3 days for Hamzat in 2 different divisions.
Yeah.
Yes, he's had the COVID stuff. He's had the weight miss with Nate. He's had a lot of things. If he goes out there and does to DDP, kind of like what he did to Robert Whitaker, maybe not, it just goes through him so quick that we're like, holy shit, that'll repair all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say basically that, which is, do I think that some of the magic has been lost? Yes. I don't think you can say it's at the same fever pitch. It's
Yes.
clearly not. However, he's back in the States. He's training for this one, obviously. I think he's with Dillashaw's team now, the training lab, but they spell train like with rain with a T.
The Osborne Lab?
No. Dude, I cannot believe that little chapter in my life lives on in this show every Monday. It's fucking amazing. What I was going to say was he has the ability to recapture so much of that.
Yes.
Not just with a win over DDP, but to the point you raise, if it's a thunderous win or like a dramatic win, I think people
That fight's so good.
part of the Ilya thing is, yes, some people like him, some people don't, but you saw what happened. People are like, whoa, something special is happening. If Hamzat comes in there and does that to DDP, people are going to have the exact same or more feelings about him in that way. People are desperate for a new set of big stars.
Dude,
He
I
can
can't-
fulfill that itch.
It's okay. We just had a really good night at 317. We're going to have a great night, even though the card sucks with Holloway and Poirier.
Main
3.
event can't suck.
We're going to have a freaking great night with DDP versus
And don't forget UFC
Chimaev.
Abu Dhabi as well.
Whitaker RDR.
And also Pico and Movsar.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's fucking
right
go.
now. Okay, I like.
I know
this.
today's show was a little bit weird because, hey, what the fuck else were we supposed to talk about? But
Yeah.
looking forward, we got the blinders on. We got a bunch of good fights this year.
Peaky Blinders. Yeah. What else you got here?
I've never seen a single episode
Neither
of
have
that.
I. I just wear those hats like Chuck. This is from
Arturo.
Arturo.
Dude, Tuki told me I was churro this weekend.
What does that mean in
Handsome.
Churro is handsome?
Well, I don't know how that's how it is in Spain, but that's how it is in Colombia. Yeah.
Oh, way to go, Toogs. Art Churro wants to know, what are your thoughts on the UFC having only one American UFC champ? Is there a shortage of talent in the U.S. or a growth of talent around the world?
I think it's both. Clearly, best practices. Like, okay, I remember the days where if you wanted to be a world champion, you had to go to AKA. You had to go to ATT.
I remember the days you had to go to Iowa and get your ass kicked by,
yes. Militich fighting
Yeah.
systems. You had to go to these places. And then it became kind of novel where you would see guys break out in the UFC who would come from these small teams, like OSP coming from a small team in Tennessee,
Yeah.
but he never became a champion. And now you're seeing that completely fall away. Like, yes, can you still get elite training at AKA or ATT? Yes, of course you can. But can you become a champion coming from a small team that no one's ever heard of? Yes. Like Jack Della Maddalena, what team does he train with, BC?
Scrappy MMA.
Okay. I mean, you know the point I'm trying to fucking make. I mean,
I know MMA.
all right. You get my point. It's not a huge team. It's not a huge team. So it just tells you that the best practices and what guys can do with that, they can build a champ almost anywhere.
True.
That is real. Australia, I remember when Elvis Sinisek and Anthony Parash were the best Australia has to offer. Now look at the
Don't
best
forget
Australia.
about George Soteropoulos. There was a window.
I know, but he made his, like, he trained mostly here. I mean, that was a little bit different.
He's not a real Aussie.
No, he is, but he didn't get good in Australia. He got good here.
Look, it ties into what we talk about of the high level.
I ran into him
American
in Marcelo's,
wrestlers.
by the way. I trained at Marcelo Garcia's one time, and he was there. Yeah.
The high ranking American wrestlers less likely lately to go directly to MMA like we'd
Yes.
think.
NIL,
I wonder, like,
jiu-jitsu.
remember the 15 years ago, the talk of boxing is where the great American heavyweights, they're all playing in the NFL. Are we getting to that point too, where people are looking at the pay structures and the violence involved and saying, is this the path I want to go, or do I want to go the team sport path?
I think NIL has made a bigger difference than we realize. It's not something I had considered until relatively recently, but I do think it plays a role. The growth of sport jiu-jitsu. I mean, people are definitely making some cost-benefit analysis of what can I actually get out of this and what am I going to have to risk to get there. And they just weren't making those same calculations 10-ish years ago. But I will say, I think with a better recruiting effort, some of these problems can be solved.
Okay.
It's not like we need. Well, here's a question: for the UFC to not survive, but to thrive long term, do they need a bunch of American champions?
I mean, it certainly helps in America from a marketing
Do
standpoint.
they need?
No, as long as they're English speaking from the standpoint of building stars, and even that doesn't always
Like
have to be.
He speaks English, but he's
Yeah,
not.
I mean, look at Anderson Silva, didn't really speak English during his prime. Outside
But it
of
also
the
took
Weeback.
forever for him to break through.
True. Dude, they're just wired differently in these other countries. As Habib talks about the sacrifice for those that come from Dagestan and what they're willing to. I mean, they're fighting more for their, in a lot of ways, their future, a comfortable future.
Yeah,
you know what I
any
mean?
kind of future in some cases. Yeah.
So we're seeing that, but what is there going to be a new American hotbed that breaks out? Is there going to be
Things go in waves. You can't rule it out. I just think that there's a lot of things that are taking good athletes that may have given MMA a bit of a second look, and it's given them options to not necessarily do that. And so we have to figure out what can we do to counteract that.
I wonder, even though I'm done with the politics in combat sports, is the close-up that UFC gets through the connection to Trump, which could lead to a fight on the lawn for the 250th anniversary. Is that a good recruitment tool for young Americans that looking to go, I want to go this route? Could be.
I hope.
Could be, right?
I hope. Yep. I cannot. I hope that if there's some kind of way for that to happen, who would be against it? Right?
I mean, if you're 10 years old and you watch or 15 years old and you watch a fight on the White House lawn and that pageantry with that, I wonder if that.
At the end of the day, though, is that going to override concerns if to the extent that pay is a motivating reason to not do it? We're like, I don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze. Does that override it? I don't know. I don't know how to answer these questions, but I guess we'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean, the people ask great questions. Do you have any more of these great questions? This is from MT Booble. What eating contest would you do best at? We're just coming off of Joey Chestnut's return after taking a year off to the Coney Island Nathans. And did you see he won again, his 11th or 17th?
I did see he won, yeah. The answer is ass eating.
Ass eating?
Where's my hip-hop horn? See,
baby,
fuck you.
I like it
you
raw.
Don't give... Oh!
Thank you for saying
when you
what
ask
need to
for
be
the
said.
hip-hop horn, you can't get
I
it.
have to because of discrimination in the workplace.
Yeah, La Leyenda. It's like giving yourself a nickname. I
have to because he is slow to the... Hey, when the rules are stacked against you, you got to complain to the ref.
That's the thing. He knows comedy. Let's talk about that. What eating? Like I always say,
I'll go slice
for slice with anybody in pizza.
Pizza, I feel like I could probably do okay on.
I could crush pizza. I'll beat you.
I don't think I could eat that many hot dogs. I don't think I could do that.
Glizzies, I'll. If I come out of retirement, I will out glizzy.
How many glizzies do you think?
I can't compete with like the.
Could you eat 10 glizzies?
The competitive eaters, I can't compete with them. But in a regular person challenge, I will crush.
You can eat 10 glizzies?
Dude, I own the American League record before a 2001 Yankees-Royals game where we're walking into the stadium. And I said, hold on, there's a hot dog guy right here. And I ordered 8 consecutive in a row and took them down, to which the girlfriends of the guys I were with were shrieking, wouldn't talk to me during the game, and still brought up years later, whatever happened to that weird dude who ate all those hot dogs that time?
Just sucking on them hot dogs, huh?
Sucking on chili dogs, right?
Pizza... Could you eat a lot? I don't think I could eat a lot of spaghetti or something like that. No.
What about wings? I did a wing eating contest once.
Now, are they spicy or not?
So me and my buddy entered. He did volume. I did spice. So like he just had to eat.
How far did you get?
He finished in second place. Shout out to him. I got 6th out of 10. It was fucking hot, dude. And I like spicy shit.
I feel like I could eat. You know what? I don't know about eating contests are not just about volume. They can be about speed. So for example, like who can eat a blueberry pie the fastest?
Yes.
I think I could win that one.
So they had there used to be this great rib place in Southington, Connecticut, and right off it was called
I doubt that.
Brannigan's, and on the roof they wrote "Best Wings in the State," and like you could see it. And toward the tail end, when they were like about to go out of business, they would have all you can eat rib nights where you pay like $25, you know. And one time I was served a full rack of ribs and I ate it in less than 4 minutes. And I grabbed the waitress like, "Hey, I'm ready for my next one." She was like, all right, it's going to take about 25 minutes to cook. That 25 minutes, it all caught up with me. So by the time it got there, I could only eat one more bite, dude. I felt like if that second rack was there, I could have done 2 racks in 10 minutes.
I went with a buddy.
I love racks, dude.
Yeah. You like big ass titties?
Big racks. Yeah.
I want my baby back. I went with a buddy of mine. I didn't do it. I was like a teenager. I think I was like 13 or so. And it was at a Texas steakhouse, not like the branded one, but like we were in Texas. I don't remember which one.
Oh,
and it was one of those ones where it's like, eat this giant steak plus the fixins. Watch a little Eastbound and Down.
Were you in Alston?
It was Austin. Yes,
oh, nice. That's where all the comedians are.
This was pre Rogan. He ate all the steak, but it was a Pyrrhic victory in a sense. Well, it wasn't even a victory because he didn't win, but he managed to eat the hard part, and he could not eat the baked potato. So he lost. He lost on the whole thing. He couldn't do it because the rule was you had to have that plus I think 2 fixins, and one was I think he had mac and cheese, and maybe the other one was the potato with a loaded potato.
Yeah.
So it's got the sour cream, the cheese, the chives, the whole bit. He couldn't do it.
Dude, I don't think I could eat steak is the hardest thing to eat fast. Remember when John Candy ate the old 96er on the great movie The Great Outdoors with Dan?
I haven't seen that in so long.
Oh God, like to eat something like that, like some 72-ounce ribeye, in a certain time period. That's a very American discussion. Do other countries have eating contests? Well, whoever can eat in those countries ends up having the power.
I one time saw Kobayashi take down I'm not doing a bit, 6 or 7 bowls of ramen.
Yeah, until he went head to head with that bear in that Fox eating competition, and the bear you don't remember this?
Kobayashi?
Yes,
Takeru Kobayashi.
In early 2000s, Fox had a crazy man versus
where the
beast
gymnast had to
challenge.
go against the orangutan or something? Yeah.
And Kobayashi went against a bear, and he was talking I'm going to beat him. I've been training. The bear just stand there and looked at him as Kobayashi's funneling him down. The bear just puts one hand, grabs the whole pile, and goes,
Yeah.
And Kobayashi afterwards was like,
Yeah.
I'll come harder next year. I'm going to train for this. I could beat him. You know?
Bro, you're not going to beat Winnie the Pooh at a honey
No,
eating
not
contest. You
gonna
understand
happen.
that?
Not going to happen. Wow.
All right. I think the blueberry pie. I could win the blueberry pie contest.
Those are our fan submissions for the week. You can reach us.
Unless we're having an ass eating contest, in which case I just win that one outright.
I'm going to just, you're going to go third base on that. Hey, morningcombat@gmail.com. This Friday, we'll be back with more Dead Wrongs and your fan
And plenty of fight
submissions.
previews because there's also Derek Lewis Fight Week, if I'm not mistaken.
It is. It's in, we'll get into all
And
that.
BC's email is bootyeater69@gmail.com. Send him one.
It was. My original email was bcsoup69@hotmail.com.
Put that on your fucking resume, you loser.
I don't have to answer to you. We have one more segment where I scour the internet on Sunday afternoon to find, the weirdest things possible to see if I can move Luke Thomas emotionally. These are called Have You Seen BC's Feces? Hoo-ah. Yeah, doubles for you. Luke, finally, you always say that if you're a good enough fighter, you'll have too much tape out there, and eventually the competition will catch up, like
That's
what
real.
happened to Izzy.
That's real.
Well, Charles Air Jordan has watched enough Ilya tape that he has put out How to Beat Topuria. This is interesting.
Guys, after years of studying Topuria, I finally know how to beat him. So you start the fight, Topuria fights slow, you need to lower your stance, and then you...
It's about right.
That's
That's about right, yeah.
yeah. Do you remember that?
Hey, whatever works, right?
Remember that Dumb and Dumber scene where they're like, "You want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?" There was a boxing match 2 weekends ago in England where James Jazza Dickens competed, and check out this introduction.
The challenger, James Dixon!
God, I think I just went
That's Lenny
sterile.
Hart, is it not?
Is that the Pride chick?
That's the Pride chick, right? Long Island Luke,
I haven't
that's
seen
her.
a picture of her in a long time, so I don't know.
I mean, that looks like an aged version of her, but yeah, that looks like her.
Yikes! That is.
I never understood why the Japanese picked her, but it just kind of worked.
It did work in that setting with that Pride,
For Pride, I
theme
mean,
song.
yeah.
I mean, with everything that was about Pride. This felt out of place and weird, didn't it?
It didn't quite work as well.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, let's get flatulent here.
Buddy, I've been doing that all show.
Check out this crochet.
Pablo
that-
Torre's about to find out.
that-
Fart as loud as your anus will allow. Believe me, these are words I live by. You
It's a
understand
nice
that?
art and craft piece. Also, you heard of drive-by shootings. This is a walk-by.
Bom dia! Por que esse homem faz essas coisas?
What did you just say? Can you translate that?
It's Portuguese. I don't know. That's fucking amazing, though. That's hilarious.
All right.
Dude, when will? Let me ask you a question before we before the
Please,
show.
please do it.
When will farting stop being funny to us?
Never. If it does that, then we cancel the show instantly.
Like, are we going to be in our deathbeds and someone's going to fart in the room and we're going to laugh?
Yeah.
Like,
I'll never not laugh at somebody getting hit in the nuts with something. You know what I mean? It's pretty good. Do you remember when the Celtics had the Boston Garden with that parquet floor and there were like dead spots on the floor
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like the leprechaun would come out and trick the players and like the ball bounce away? Check out this floor. Nice rebound there. Let's
They're on
go
the
up.
beach or something? What the
Oh,
fuck?
Oh, God. Tripped up. That's a travel, sir. That is, wow.
Where the fuck are they playing that it's just disintegrating?
I don't know, but that was awesome right there. All right. Hey, did you see this Hainato Moicano crash out, as the kids say, after his loss to Dariush?
Fuck you, Darius. I never say. Fuck you.
All right.
Well, what'd the TV do? That was a big ass TV. You could have just given it to me.
Wow, right there. Okay. Let's hear from Matt Serra.
You know, I don't know when it's set for Madison Square Garden, but Michael Bisping believes that a fight between you and Julio Cesar. Did you say this already? What's the matter?
No, you called him Michael Biscuit.
Did I call him Biscuit? Did I call him Biscuit? Michael Biscuit. Michael Bisping. And I'm friends with Michael. Holy fuck, I didn't even realize that. That makes me think of when you talk about how the sweets are so much better in England.
Yeah.
I don't know why I just thought of that. I'm thinking of biscuit.
Good old Michael Biscuit.
Well, I didn't know Ben the Bane Davis was filling in.
Dude, Ben the Bane Davis shows up everywhere.
Tell you what, hustles. He hustles.
Going to be on MTV's The Challenge?
Well, I mean, I think he'll barely be on, but I talked to him a little bit about that. But my man hustles. He hustles.
All right, smoke them if you got them time. Luke, would you smoke out of this?
Buddy, you just asked me what contest I was going to win.
Let me ask you a question about your smoking piece.
Yeah,
wow.
what I have.
That's a dark asshole, right? Wow.
Yeah, could use a little bleach, but
okay.
Other than that,
this is how they get high in France. Watch this. I think we call this le bonguette.
Okay, I have to do this now.
I think she's smoking Eiffel flower. Yes, good shit right there.
You got a couple good ones
there
today.
It is.
All right.
And Luke, you know, if you could die anywhere, you would pick the smoking tent, wouldn't you?
Please kill me there.
Oh, it's live right now.
Dude, where is
Somebody
this? We need to show up.
right now.
You see the license plate?
See that right there? And they giving them some love. Yeah, there
Close
you
that
go.
up.
Smoke them to death.
2 minutes.
Smoke
2
them
minutes?
to death.
Got this girl.
Are you
tap
good?
out.
You still want to stay? Tap out,
They
tap
tapped her
out.
out. They tapped.
Allison felt it.
Yo, let's see. Look at hot
Work
box the
out this.
fuck out of
Work
that.
out. Welcome back. Yeah. Now, excuse me. Tell us, how do you feel?
Hard.
All right, how much weed do you have to waste?
That's a good thing.
All of it. But this is what life is for.
Well,
That's-
now, Luke, could you go 2 minutes in that tent?
Yeah, could you do a full
I think
two?
I could. I want to just say, you know, Planet 13 in Vegas.
Yes.
They have like a car you can sit in, and it's like push this button for smoke.
just hotbox
and
it?
Smokes it. Yeah, but
Oh,
it's
dude.
fucking like fog smoke. It's not weed. It's just fog. So you're just choking on.
Oh,
like,
you're just
vapor.
you're just smoking asbestos or
Yeah,
something.
so I wonder about shit like this. Is it even weed or is it just?
But you've
like-
seen the ones where they can just light it and then they just funnel it in, and there's really no other.
Yeah, I'm all for that.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
one.
if, like you always say, if we need to die.
Bury. I'm telling you, bury me in smoke.
Yes.
That's the way.
Wow. Let's see some child abuse. We always like that on the soccer pitch.
You got scenes from my childhood?
Yeah, here we go. Watch this young fella.
Fuck that kid.
That's great. You know my idea about UFC women's heavyweight? Starting to catch on.
Okay.
Starting to catch on.
All
Let's
right,
listen.
let's see.
I'm not gonna lie, the UFC needs a heavyweight women's division. I'm trying to see the fat bitches fighting. If I ain't gonna watch it, I'm a stroke to it, right? You put a McDonald's gift card on that fucking fight purse, you're gonna see a death. I'm trying to see Lizzo, female Derek Lewis.
All right.
What part? I'm not sure exactly.
Let's just keep moving.
Okay, yeah.
Luke, you know, the more English Canelo's using, I kind of like how he speaks. He's hilarious. Right?
Motherfucker.
Let's hear from Canelo.
Do you generally like or dislike your opponents?
Generally, I don't give a
Live, only on the zone.
Was that
Just
Jim
catching-
Gray?
It sounded like Jim Gray, yeah.
That's amazing.
Imagine if they dig him up for this Netflix card. That'd be
Wow. I mean, using some special verbs there, huh? Dig?
Oh, I'm sorry. He's a
Wow.
legend. He is a legend, Luke.
Yeah,
He
imagine
is.
they get that fucking corpse out there, huh?
We had some child abuse. We might as well come back with some elderly abuse. Watch this poor gentleman in front of the manure truck. Oh my God.
Wait. Is that manure or just like?
I've been told from the Instagram post it's manure, and he pulled out in front of it in his rascal scooter. And
why are they burying the street in shit?
I don't know what country that is, but
It
whether
appears
that's
to be
manure or
Chinese. I
cement,
can't
that's
quite tell.
rough, dude. That is rough right there.
That's what I did to the bathroom, and then the guy brought his drink inside, and I was like, I don't think this is the place for your drink, bud.
Luke, remember that great AI fan sub of you and the cake lady getting married? This should be your cake.
I love your tits.
It really works under any celebration. Just get that for a lady.
4th of July. Okay.
Luke, I've been told that tomorrow is our 6th anniversary
Can
of
you
Morning
believe
Combat.
it? Can you believe it?
Can you believe it? This is how we should have celebrated. Want to see the greatest skateboard trick celebration ever?
Let's see it.
This is how we need to celebrate our birthday. Right? Dude, we gotta Great celebration, dude. That is epic.
That's. I didn't know that the Jan 6 guys had a circus show.
Well, this is probably how we more than likely would celebrate it. Let's go to the volleyball pitch.
Pensa no saque. Pegou Mero.
Soccer volleyball.
Ajeita do Zinho, vem Mero pra bola. Lobby. Pensa grandão. Pensa grandão. De segunda, velho. De segunda, velho. De segunda, velho. Ele tá muito bom. Ele tá muito bom. Vai.
Bro, that's how Tukey wakes me up.
Like this?
Oxê.
Okay, all right.
okay.
I didn't introduce a youngin into that conversation.
I mean, okay, that's not what she does. The screaming part, that was the part that she does. Hey, why don't you fuck up your microphone at the end of the show?
There we go. I'm back on. All right. We got a couple more here for you. Time for some huge dongs to call it off. What are they transporting at this truck, Luke? All right. I mean, what is that? Look at the unit on that guy.
Bro, they gotta get. This is the kind of truck that was hauling tanks
Did you
in.
guys see? Read that sign.
What does it say?
Pull forward after fueling or get shot. What
Whoa.
the fuck? This is not real. This is not real.
You're saying that's an AI dong? Am I getting MMA Centelled again? What's that?
I don't know. Risky factories. Where do they have signs that say you're gonna get shot?
Interesting. Wow. All right, one more for you. Check out this Japanese fella.
Got a big ass jacket.
I wonder what he's got in there. That's all the shit I got this week. I hope you liked it.
That's how you should show up to all job interviews,
Yes,
right there.
yes.
Like, oh, sorry, I'm in a lot of pain. Here's my cock.
That's all the show we can fit in 2 hours today. I hope you enjoyed it. We will be back this Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, for a wonderful remote show previewing the weekend to come. And we do have a fun couple weeks. It's not just Taylor Serrano 3 Friday night, the doubleheader Ring Magazine Series number 3 from the Tennis Stadium Saturday with the likes of Shakur Stevenson, Edgar Berlanga, Hamza Shiraz,
Derek Lewis,
William Zapata. We got Derek Lewis and Taliesin Talaverse this Saturday.
That's
What's
right.
the guy's name?
Oh,
Teixeira.
Talisman Teixeira.
Talisman Teixeira.
And then the following week is the craziest day in combat sports in a while, come that 19th, Luke.
That is pretty. The UFC card this weekend. Let me quickly go through it, if I may.
Yeah, please.
Derek Lewis versus Taliesin Teixeira is your main event.
I don't hate that fight.
I don't know how long it's going to go, but I definitely don't hate it either. Stephen Thompson taking on Gabriel Bonfim. It's all right. It's all right. Calvin Kattar, Steve Garcia. Mixed feelings.
That's fun. I like that fight. That's fun.
What? Tell me why you're pumped about that. I mean,
because Steve Garcia's on like a 5-fight KO streak. Calvin Kattar's lost 4 in a row.
Fair enough.
Steve
Okay,
Garcia's
coming or
stepped
going.
Down
Yep.
in competition. We'll see.
Nate Landwehr versus Morgan Charrier should be fun. That's the French guy with got the colored hair. Vitor Petrino taking on Austin Lane. It's a heavyweight fight. That one won't go very long, but it might be fun for as long as it lasts. And then at light heavyweight, Torov Tafa Jr. taking on Tuco Tacos.
Wow, we get a horn for that fight. Wow.
Also, Chris Curtis on the prelims is back against Max Griffin at 170. At 170. And remember, Chris Curtis went 1-3 at 170 in PFL. So Jake Matthews, by the way, the prelims might be even better. Jake Matthews taking on Chidi Njokuani. That's pretty good. Lauren Murphy versus Eduardo Moura. That's pretty good.
Dude, Lauren Murphy still around?
At heavyweight, Kennedy Nzechukwu taking on Walter Walker. Mitch Ramirez at lightweight taking on Mike Davis. Mike Davis is a very good fighter. And then the opener, Fatima Klein taking on Melissa Martinez.
Is that card better than the 318 undercard?
What do you think, Long Island?
No.
Pretty good. I also gave the horns to Fatima there, Long Island zone.
And this is not an Apex card. This is in Nashville, Tennessee at the Bridgestone Arena.
All right, we got a crowd. We get a crowd this Saturday.
Yeah, not too bad.
And then, like I said, loaded next Saturday, the July 19th, from Pacquiao to Usyk, Dubois to Bam to Poirier, Holloway 3. So we'll be ahead of all that. Don't forget that 9 days from now, UFC 318 pregame preview brought to you by Cuervo in this studio, Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern. Jed Meshew joining us. Then, Luke, you got a little vacay. So we'll be getting some fill-in.
Little vacay, yep.
Little
Not
vacay.
long. Normally everyone's like, oh, you're going to be gone for 2 weeks. No, just one.
You're only missing 2 episodes.
That's it.
So we'll get some
That's
of our friends to drop in and join us for that, as we got obviously that big weekend to recap come Monday morning, July 21st. We'll be there with you. That's about all the show we can do. morningcombat@gmail.com to reach the show. Those are our social handles. Please like and subscribe the video. It does go a very long way for our future, and our future is going to be in the living room of one of you folks, I think. No, thanks. I don't really, I access freedom in other ways, Luke. I don't need that form energy from Dana White. I don't need that. Long Island Luke is a great member of our show. He handles our merch. You can check it out at morningcombat.shop. Our new July releases are there. The 3 Margaritas shirt, the Technical Thriller. How about that Lucha poster? You can get one signed as well. It's the best way to support our show.
I had some margaritas this weekend.
Oh, wow.
I had some strawberry margaritas.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had a lot of mules this week. Oh, I took the wife to a last minute getaway in Providence, Rhode Island over the weekend for the 4th.
It was cool.
I just assumed Providence was a shithole. It's weird when you live in Connecticut. Rhode Island's like this armpit brother, and you don't realize, dude. Providence rules.
I've heard decent things.
It's really classy culture, history, food. It's got a lot going for it. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. You say that about a lot of places you go to. You're like, I thought this place sucked, and then you go and you're like, it's not so bad.
Maybe I'm spent too much time in Hartford in my life, which is really one of the worst major cities, if you even want to call it that. But thank you, Providence. Thank you, India. Thank you. All right. Luke,
thank you to the viewers and the listeners today, because we know it was an unusual show. Let's turn the page, focus on the fights for Friday. We used what we had, which wasn't much.
But that's the last time we have to talk about some of those people.
For a long time.
Moving forward, MK is going to be about fun and eating ass and breasts.
Hey, it's always been about that.
And hot dogs. Thank you very much. For our great staff, including Ken, who I would love to. Dude,
who is not sober.
If we could get an MK camera to just follow Ken around all day, I think it would be just money content.
Do you think he does drugs in the bathroom?
I'd love
Check
to find
yes
out.
for yes.
I'd love to find out. Thank you to our great team, Nadir as well, and Daniel Snyder's nephew as well, for always holding us down there. That's LT on BC. We got enough for today. Catch us on Friday. We're out of here.